All right, now we're on. It says 0 viewers. And this little screen that opened up. All right, I guess we'll see. I'm the only person. I have to invite you to this one. I swear I hate this, man. I really do hate this. You see, I'm the only one that comes out, right? All right, I'm inviting you guys. All right, sorry guys. We're working on this. I think they can only hear me right now. Up Action Kid. Oh, I might see Action Kid on Saturday. He's supposed to come out to the ride. Yeah, to City Island. Yeah, 13 people watching? Gosh. And we start off on a bad note. I'm going to cancel our call. And Google, please make this easier. Please. All right, I'm going to cancel our call. And all right, hang on, guys. We're working this out. There's always an issue with Google and YouTube. So they will be back momentarily. All right, cool, Action Kid. Looking forward to seeing you.
All right, this should work now because I had to accept the invitation. So.
Yeah, yep, you're here.
All right.
And Greg should be here momentarily.
Yep, it's on now. It's on the screen, so we're good. For me, at least. So once Greg joins, we should be good.
All right, we're good.
Nice.
All right. Awesome. Yeah, that went a little smoother than last time.
Yeah, it did.
All right. How's everybody in chat doing? If you guys are watching. There's 12 people watching. It's awesome.
Yeah, that's really good. Did you guys get any questions on your videos?
I did not. No.
I think one.
Oh, really?
It seems like you're always the one getting the question. I never get any anymore. What's up,
Well, it's not even that. This guy is just taking shots at me here. He says, "I'll ask the question: should Job get some new black bar tape?"
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. How old is your bar tape? Anyway, speaking of that.
It's like a year old. Like I just got the bike last April.
Oh.
What's up, guys?
Nice. We got 14 people watching. Sweet.
Nice.
Good stuff.
Mine is 3 because I have it open. I'm sure we all have it open.
Yeah, so 11. Yeah.
12, yeah.
Yeah.
What's kind of funny is, like, we've all been kind of keeping in contact throughout the week, so normally, like, it would just be the introductions, like, hey, how was your week, blah, 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 blah. But obviously, we've kind of all just been chit-chatting and know a little bit behind the scenes what's going on, so
yeah,
probably fill other people in, but
yeah, I forgot to actually record and put up a video telling us we're live now on my channel. I'll do that next time. I forgot to.
Yeah, I just put a link on my Facebook. Hopefully some of my Facebook friends will watch. Maybe not.
Yeah. I got a Twitter finally, too. I don't have any followers on there, so that wouldn't really make a difference, but...
I'm not too into the Twitter thing just yet. Like, it seems cool, but I don't know. There's some kind of nuance to it that I'm too old to understand.
Yeah,
you just write stuff and misspell it. That's all you have to do.
Yeah.
That's it.
I don't
That's all
get the
there
whole
is,
hype
man.
about it. It's just I don't like everyone I know uses Twitter and I just can't use it. I don't know. I just use it for my channel. That's it. I don't have a personal one.
Yeah. Like I just do the when you post the video, you know, it says how you can include a tweet. I just always put the
Yep.
same thing over and over,
Yeah.
like, hey, I posted a new video to my YouTube channel. And that's it.
Yeah. Do I have a blender yet? Nope, not yet. I haven't come around to make that account yet.
You're a little behind, Chicago, man.
I've been busy, man.
Oh, man.
Oh, David asked do we make money from YouTube? No, I don't. I think we actually got into that a little bit last time, but I don't make any. I don't have any ads. I don't think on my channel. I don't know.
So I have made money off YouTube so far. I've gotten 2 checks. The nothing. Well, the first check came like a couple years ago, not from doing these videos, but from videos that I did about gun stuff. And
Okay.
then I just recently got a check maybe a month or 2 ago. Most of it, the income coming from the same gun videos, and I think just the riding videos have started kind of adding cents here and there, but it's taken now 8 years or something like that. And so way back in the day, to get paid, you had to be invited to the partnership, where now like everybody who starts can get it. And so when I got my partnership offer, 8 years ago or whatever it was, that's when all my accruing income started. So it took 8 years to get 2 checks, but
Yeah. Yeah, YouTube is not a way really to make money, in my opinion. Like if someone's looking to go to YouTube to make a living off of it, I'd just like I don't know. I don't find it possible.
I got a check coming this month, so I should probably get it like next week or so.
nice.
Oh, really? Nice.
Yeah. Thinking what I should buy with it. What should I buy?
Some new bar tape.
Some new bar tape, yeah.
Speaking of, yeah, somebody in the oh yeah, Freddie said Mr. Clean Magic Eraser usually fixes the bar tape, which is actually a good idea because I taped not too long ago. It's already dirty, so.
Actually, when I first got the bike, like a week after I got it, I went to the bike shop to get the rear derailleur index, and I remember talking to Ray. Ray was there with me. Ray and Andrew, they were both there, and I was like, man, I hope my bar tape don't get messed up. And of course, the bike mechanic with his greasy hands messed up the bar tape. And I'm just like, well, it's just gonna get messed up more from here on out.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Thoughtful Cyclists pointed out that you need to have a crap ton of active subs to get paid for your YouTube channel. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Even then, a lot of people are switching to Twitch TV now to make a lot of, because I watch a couple of like originally I watched a couple of gaming YouTube channels and stuff like a couple years back, and they kind of like fizzled out of the whole YouTube scene, and they go to Twitch.tv now to stream and like just make donate or get donations from people, because they make I think $2.50 per subscriber or per subscriber on their channel on Twitch. And somebody I know that, or not I know, but somebody that I watch gets like, I think they have like, I don't know, like 50,000 subscribers, and they get like dozens and dozens and dozens of new subscribers every single day. So they're making $100 just from that alone, and then donations too. So
yeah.
that's what a lot of people are doing.
Hot chicks can make plenty of money. It's kind of like the Instagram thing. Like people who get paid for their Instagram, it's mostly just hot people that are traveling around the world on vacation
Pretty much.
constantly.
yeah.
Oh, thank you, Freddie. Yeah, that's an old clock. I'm more of a Cubs fan. I don't know. I'm not really a big fan of baseball, to be honest. But honestly, I support both teams just because, I don't know, they rep Chicago. So
Yeah. I'm kind of lucky. I'm a San Francisco fan, and it just so happens that Spanish Fork, which is what this hat is, has the same symbol. So
Nice.
the local high school here, the Spanish Fork Dons.
Oh
has
yeah.
the same symbol as Spanish or the San Francisco Giants. So
That works out.
yeah, exactly. Except for the back. The back says Dons. But
Wait, what does that mean? Or is that like just the?
It's just the mascot. It's like the Don Juans or something like that.
Oh,
You know,
okay.
it looks like a flamboyant guy.
Well, we all know my favorite athlete.
It's like
Oh, yeah.
It's Cody out
Dale
too.
Earnhardt Jr. or something, right? Or something like that.
Jimmy Johnson. Dale Earnhardt
Oh,
Jr.
yeah.
I can't stand that guy. See, big post of him right here. He's in my room 24/7.
You do kind of have an unhealthy
New York
crush.
City a lot, man. Hey, man, 7-time champ. At least
Can't
he's
deny it,
winning.
right?
I'm like,
Hey, but so is,
Jr.
hey, but that's that's a good point though. Think about it though. There is no real doping in that sport, right?
That's true.
I guess you could
There's
right?
been people. There's been people who have been caught using meth while driving
What?
cars.
Using meth?
Damn.
Yeah. Yeah. So back in 2008, NASCAR announced that they're going to do this drug policy, and it's going to be random every week. It's going to be random drivers, random crew members, people like that. So 2009 season comes along, and Jeremy Mayfield gets busted for some drug infraction. Like, no one knew what it was. Turns out to be meth. He sued NASCAR, something like that, and it just got worse. So then he loses his job for being on meth. Then, because he doesn't have money coming in, he starts stealing parts from teams to fund his habit. So then he gets busted on that. And then when they went and raided his home, they caught him with like 50 guns, 50 like unlicensed guns or something like that. So his life just went from bad to worse really quickly in a matter of like a year and a half.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So your boy RPM says he thinks he sees some stains on that poster job.
Oh man.
No, that's plastic wrap, man.
That's why it's
Wait, how long have you
plastic
had those
wrap.
posters?
What was that?
How often do you got to change the plastic wrap?
It came like that, man. From like,
How long have you
my
had them
mom
for?
bought them for me, actually. What was that?
Oh, how long have you had them for?
Maybe high school.
Oh wow, okay.
So you've been a NASCAR fan that long, huh?
I've been a NASCAR fan since I was a kid,
Wow.
like a little
Nice.
kid. Like, I don't remember how I got into NASCAR.
Huh. Like I remember I used to watch on TV the funny car drags and the what's the other ones? The Top Fuel. And mostly just because right down the road from where I used to live when I was a kid, there was an actual like straightaway racetrack. Sacramento Raceway is what it was called. And so at night on Fridays when they would be racing out there, you would hear them like off in the distance, that loud just for that 5-10 seconds or whatever it takes to get down the track.
Yeah.
That's pretty
Oh,
crazy.
that drag strip. I'm not using the drag strip racing.
And I just don't, I mean, I think we've talked about it before. I appreciate the fatigue that drivers have to endure while driving, because I made a trip one time from California to here and I just felt like crap after driving, 500 miles, and they're doing it in less time, going all that much faster, inches away from a wall and other cars. So you got to be on your A game or else you're going to have a bad wreck. So I can appreciate that at least, but.
Yeah, on Sunday it was really hot in New York, and they were in the Poconos. So I don't know if no one knows, but Poconos is in Pennsylvania, so not too far from New York City, like maybe 100 miles or something like that. So it was really hot, and this one driver fainted after the race, and a lot of drivers were just really hot after that race. I mean, inside those cars are probably like 130, 140 degrees.
Wow.
So, yeah, it gets pretty hot up in there. And on those speedways, those super speedways where they're doing over 200 miles an hour, they really try to keep those cars closed up just for aerodynamic purposes. So you're not getting too much airflow through there.
So do they have drink or anything like that with them?
Do they have what?
Like water or? Anything to drink?
Oh, yeah, they have Gatorade and stuff. So, you know, they have it like in a cup, and they keep like feeding them different cups throughout the
So,
race
like,
with the straws and all that.
so when they basically pit stop, they switch out drinks and stuff?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And IndyCar, it's like a button on the steering wheel, and like the liquid comes through your helmet or something like that.
The more you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So one Jeep Cam asked Job if you think Danica's ever going to win a NASCAR race.
This one race car driver said she'll win a race if everyone stays home.
Ah.
I don't think she's that great of a driver. She's there to make money, to make the team money. She's like Dale Earnhardt Jr., just a female version. At least Dale Jr. has won big races in his career. When she first came to NASCAR, she would finish races like 5 laps down just because she wasn't fast enough. I mean, it's really sad. I don't know. Because you have Daytona and Talladega out there, and she could definitely win on one of those tracks. Those are like equalizer tracks. So I'll never say never, but it's probably not going to happen at a non-restricted plate track. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, it's crazy how much involved or what's involved with racing. Obviously, you know, different tracks are better for different people. It's almost like cycling in that some hill climbs are better for not hill climbers because they're not very steep. Like I was listening to somebody talking about Tour de France, and they're saying that the hills in the Tour de France aren't really a hill climber's hill. They're for guys that, you know, are just good endurance, because you're not going up a steep grade. You know, you're going to just an average grade for a really long time. So it's less about how good of a hill sprinter you are versus just how endurance driven you are.
Yeah.
But yeah. Do you guys prefer alloy rims? I've never ridden anything besides alloy rims, so.
Yeah, same here.
I couldn't. Yeah.
One day I'll get carbon fiber. You know, I'm not
What's
afraid
cool
of
is,
fashion.
So my local shop here, who I very rarely shop with, but they host all the group rides. They just started doing their own pieces like carbon rims, bars, stems, I think cranks, all that stuff with their branding on it. And they actually had a pretty cool like review thing. So if you bought the rims from them, they'd give you half off, but you would have to do reviews for them and post about it and all your social media and everything else like that. But even still, you know, you're talking about $1,000 set of rims that you're getting for $500.
Yeah.
It's still a pretty chunky investment, but there's a guy that's doing it right now, and he said he's really liking the carbon rims.
Yeah,
Oh,
even
cool.
like buying super like expensive rims like that makes you a target for bike thieves too. That's why I kind of keep my bike parts on the down low on price.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I just,
For me,
wait, how much?
Go
Greg, how
ahead.
much was your bike? If you don't mind sharing.
The bike was 2,000.
Wow. Okay. Damn.
Yeah.
Nice.
This Greg get money out here, man. That was nothing for him. That was like one day pay. He was like, yeah, just buy a bike today, whatever.
No. That's one of those. So whenever I buy a major thing like that, it's a like long thought out process. I don't know if you guys ever saw the video, but probably 6 months ago, I was naming the bikes that I was looking at. So 6 months ago, I was doing my research. And it's just one of those things that I take forever to finally pull the trigger on anything. And it's got to really like check every box off. And for a really long time, I was actually looking at the Giant Contend. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that. It's an aluminum bike, and it's kind of this cool hybrid of an endurance bike and a road bike, or what do you call it? The speed one. But it's like an in between of those two bikes. And so I was going to go with that. My only hold off was that it has this new braking technology, not technology. It's got hydraulic brakes, but it's got a converter that converts it to a mechanical lever. So you use traditional mechanical levers with cable pulls, and then that pulls on a special converter that converts it to a hydraulic. And that, because no one's ever really reviewed it, I was kind of like, well, I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing, if it's just a hokey thing. And so forever I was just like waiting for somebody to finally review it, and nobody did. And then the new advanced Defies came out, and they started including the through axle rims. And with my mountain bike experience, I know that the through axles are like the definite way to go if you want to have rim brake, or if you want to have disc brakes that don't rub a lot. And so because of the price point and everything else like that, you know, that was just a no-brainer for me that that's the way I was going to go.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's how I ended up focusing in on the Defy.
Nice.
Cool.
So Thiefin asked if, because he has a ride or he has a fixed gear, should he get front or back brakes? Do you guys have an opinion on that?
Get rid of your fixed gear.
Because I know, it says, I feel like if you like apply front brakes, I don't know, I just feel like you'd go over your handlebars if you apply them too hard, but at the same time, they're more powerful than back brakes now.
Sure.
So
I mean, I don't know.
when you're braking, your front brakes do the majority of the stopping for you.
Yeah. So
if you are only using the front brake, then you're going to have some issues there because, like you said, you're going to be going over the handlebars a lot. Where if you're already kind of comfortable slowing down and stopping on the fixie, then that's kind of your, I don't know. Don't just sell your bike and get a bike with gears, man.
First thing you need to do to change a back wheel to a free wheel. Then we could talk. Yeah.
Okay, there we go. See, Job knows good.
Most fixie people I see with brakes is usually on the front. It's like a little brake lever. It's nothing too crazy going on. It's, you know, just like added protection or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. So I would say the front, Thiefin. But I mean, I don't know. I would ask an expert, but Thiefin, or yeah.
So Jeep Cam is asking thoughts on gravel bikes. I have a lot of positive thoughts on gravel bikes. I actually was going to go with the gravel bike over the endurance bike when I decided to go for getting the bikes, but the main thing being that the gravel bikes are geared for doing hills, and we have so many hills around here that, you know, I thought it was a benefit, but
yeah,
y'all know how I ended up with the bike I got. So
yeah.
Cool.
And then I don't know if you guys have ever ridden gravel bikes or anything like that, but the bike that Ryan has from my videos is kind of a gravel bike. It's a touring bike, so it's geared like a gravel bike would be geared. The only difference being that it's geometry wise not quite as aggressive as a gravel bike. But it's a comfortable bike because you can get those really nice big fat tires on there. Ryan's bike will take up to, I think, a 35 mil tire.
Oh, okay.
So you can put a mountain bike tire on the thing. So
now you're talking about the big tires, like this big, because I see a lot of people here in Chicago have those bikes for like riding on this beach and stuff in the sand.
Oh, those fat bikes, those are cool.
Yeah, fat bike tires are like a 55 mil tire, so they're huge.
Oh. Okay, so it's nothing. Okay.
So a 35 mil tire is gonna be like a mountain bike tire.
Okay.
And then what we have on our bikes goes up to like 25, 28 mil, something like that, depending on how your calipers are. And that's the other reason why I like disc brakes, is because you can generally get a bigger tire in there as long as you're smart and order the right size tire off of the internet when you place your order. I didn't do that. I screwed up. I meant to get 28s for my bike and accidentally ordered 25s because I had 28 sitting in the cart, and then I reloaded more tires into the cart and then deleted the tires that I meant to get accidentally, and because I'm stupid. So now I got to ride these ones until they die, and then I'll get some 28s on there.
Yeah.
Hey, I still got those Four Seasons in my other room back there. I'm just like, man, these tires were garbage.
So
you didn't do anything, Scraig, and you got a flat.
No, I didn't do anything. I
like a bunny hop. No,
I bunny hop, and I found out. So here's the thing.
That's my whole ride to work.
Is bunny hops.
That's my whole ride. If every time I hit a hole and I said something, I wouldn't shut up because the whole ride is rough.
Yeah, same here.
So here's the other problem though, and I didn't realize this until after I checked my front tire. My PSI, I hadn't pumped my tires up forever, and my PSI on my front tire was 80. So that's what my rear tire would have been. Well, 80 PSI is nothing.
No, yeah, it's not
less.
But having that
80 is not terrible. It's kind of like 40. Like 40
yeah.
is terrible.
But the recommended was like 90 to 110. And so right now I run my tires at about 100. But being at 80, obviously with the impact and everything else, and it was a pinch flat. So it's exactly what should have happened, which is a pinch flat, and that's what I got. So I don't blame the tires. I defend the tires. And everybody else says you're crazy too. So
gotta get them Gator skins.
Yo, Gator skins. And I got them. Beautiful. I haven't had a flat in so long, man. And I'm like riding my bike off of curves and all this crazy shit.
I've had the Gators for well over a year, and I've only gotten one flat, and that was a couple of weeks ago, and that's it. Yeah,
see, man. I'm telling you, Greg. If you
I don't doubt. Well, I don't doubt.
York, man,
well, yeah,
it'll be terrible for you. You'll hate it. Yeah, you guys got some good roads over there, so I'll give you that.
Yeah, they're saying that the Gator skins aren't as good a performance in wet weather, though.
Yeah,
So
that's true. I mean,
tires,
they're more slick.
Yeah, they're a little more slick, and the compound doesn't grip as well in the wet. Not that I ride my bike in the wet. I'm just saying.
Yeah, that's the thing I do. So it's just like, I don't know. Yeah, they are more slick for sure. That's the only downside.
You know, I do notice that the Gator skins grip better than the Four Seasons, at least in the dry. And I kind of wonder, you know, because the Gator skins are that much better dry, are they that much worse in the wet? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, are Gator skins more geared towards dry weather, and the Four Seasons, I guess, is more geared towards the wet. But the Gator skins, to me, handle really well in the wet. Like, the first time I rode in the wet, I was like, shit, I'm going to fall. But they handle really, really well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here, I'll be right back. Hold on, guys. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm not too sure that there's all that much difference between the different tire compounds. I don't know. This is the first time I've ever changed them. I was really surprised with the stock tires that came on the bike. The main problem there was the fact that, you know, the sidewall blew out, but, you know, it didn't blow out. It got a hole in it from a giant rock. So, I mean, and I'm pretty sure that the hole was there for a long time, and I just didn't notice it until I got lucky one day when I was checking my tire. I put my finger down and put my finger right on the tube that was squirting out. And so, yeah. And like thinking back to all the downhills that I was doing at like 30, 40, 50 miles, not 50 miles an hour, but pretty dang close to 40 miles an hour. And that tire could have come apart at any time.
Yeah.
And it could have been really bad, but got lucky. But the tires on there were nice. The tires that came on the bike were really, really grippy. And, you know, because they're flat with no tread, at the time when I got the bike, I thought tread was something that mattered for the tire. I didn't think that the compound was the real, you know, star of the show, until I started reading a little bit more about the tires and finding out that no, it's not about tread, it's about compound, and the compound on these tires is good. So they give good performance in wet and in dry and yada, yada, yada. So
I tell my dad that all the time. He's always like, there's no thread on the tires. I'm like, well, put it this way. If you had thread on the tire, that's less tire touching the ground. So you won't get as much grip.
Right.
So.
Yeah. But the main thing I think with these Four Seasons is that they have the sidewall protection similar to the Gator skins, but their compound is more geared towards giving you better grip during all the different seasons, you know, 4 seasons. But
right.
So I just came back from because my parents got a new laptop, and fucking Windows, you know how Windows is. It's always problems with Windows, and every single time they tried going onto the laptop, because they got it yesterday, it's brand new. Every time they tried opening it, a blue screen popped up saying there was an error and something like that. It was like something with the driver, and like we tried fixing it, but every time you open the laptop, it does the same thing. It goes to the blue screen over and over and over again. If I managed to freeze that or like make it, I don't know, just like stop it from doing that and like updating the driver and stuff like that. I don't know. I don't know how I managed to fix it, but I fixed it, and I was just making sure it's still working down there. I hate Windows.
Which driver? Which driver?
The
Network?
Intel. Yeah, the network. Yeah, the network one.
Yeah, that I had problems with that on my Alienware, and the way I got rid of it was like uninstalling the network program. So I did the drivers at first, right, and it will work sometimes, but not really. And I uninstalled the network program, reinstalled it. Haven't had a blue screen since.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know why it does. Like,
yeah.
I don't get it. It's like stupid. Why would the computer have a problem like that? Like right away, it's just like okay. But
Yeah.
So we should probably let everybody know too that there's this delay. I see people asking questions on the live stream, and like the answers are coming or we're not giving them, but
I think it's like 45 seconds.
Yeah, this G's evil is putting the sleepy face. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. We're not trying to put you to sleep, man. Sorry.
Ray said I need a hat. I don't wear hats. That's the thing.
Cause this.
Yeah, I don't really wear hats. I got the Jimmy Johnson hat, but you guys might think I'm extra gay now. So.
Now these headphones indent my hair, so it's like I gotta wear the hat.
I always wear a hat. I almost never don't wear a hat. So.
You got your gun with you, man. You got a hat and gun at all times. I missed it. Show it again. Hold on, I'm gonna switch to your camera. Show it again so everyone can see. Which one do we have on tonight? Oh, it's just in your waistband now.
Oh my god!
You've never seen my holster?
Wait. Hold on. Let me switch the camera to you. All right, camera's on you. Go ahead.
Oh, camera's on me.
It's just your waist. Yeah, it's just your waistband.
Just the waistband.
So what gun is that?
It's a Smith & Wesson M&P with a inside the waistband holster.
Oh.
Nice.
And
nice, man.
my Punisher, my special laser engraved Punisher clips for the belt loop.
Oh, we got a lot of.
That is funny shit, man.
Oh, there we go.
Oh man.
Now we're gonna be getting all these people in the chat like, oh my gosh, you like guns? We hate you now.
We got a lot of fixed gear cyclists in this chat right now. Mateo, I think Yoda, I think he rides fixed gears, maybe. I don't know. Nice.
I better stop talking shit then.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, all of our cameras are GoPros, David. At least, yeah. I got the Session 5 and the Hero 3.
Got my GoPro right here, right next to me. You never know when you might need to take a picture of somebody.
True that.
Oh, at least Greg, remember I
said
I didn't have any watches in my room?
Yeah.
I actually have a box cutter in my room. So I have a box cutter in my room, and we have a box cutter in the bedroom.
There you
go. I don't know how far we can get with that, but
box cutter knocked down 2 buildings, so.
Oh man, that's low, man. That's low.
Just saying.
I'm going to hell for less.
Oh yeah, definitely. If there is one, I'm definitely going.
See, here we go.
There you go, man.
Now we're showing our weapon collection tonight.
Oh, hold on, I got mine.
So
here we go.
Should I display my entire collection of stuff that I carry? So that's my main blade.
Wait, let me put the camera straight.
Right?
Go ahead, straight.
So
camera's on you now.
So that was in my pocket. That's my main blade. That's a Spyderco Endura 4 with a wave opener in case anybody's into knives. And then I've got, this is my utility. So for if I need to open up boxes and stuff like that, and I've got pliers. This also actually helps me open up like stuff on the bike if I gotta pull the cables or anything like that. This one's for all you New York guys.
Flashlight.
You can like shake your fist at someone real scary, like, you know, and like shine them in the eyeballs.
It's great. Not great. Chicago, what do you have?
I just got this right here. Pepper
Is that
spray.
Pepper spray?
Yep, that's all I got. I don't know money like the laws about like what you can and cannot carry. I just applied for my FOID card right now, so but I can't get a gun until I'm 21.
What?
My FOID card, this is pretty much so you can carry a gun legally or have a gun legally, really. I really can't get a gun or a pistol until I'm 21.
I need to look into this for New York, man. I'm just kind of curious to exercise my rights here. What can I carry and what can I not carry? I think 4 inches is the max for New York. So, all right, so I did a little reading. Some of the laws are a little unclear, but it more or less kind of seems like you can carry a knife that flips open, but without a spring. So you have to like manually flip it open.
Yeah,
not assisted. You know,
not assisted.
Non-assisted. You have to like manually open it yourself.
Yeah. So
it seems like you could do that.
An assisted knife would open. That's what this wave is for. That little cutout right there. So when you're pulling it out of the pocket, it actually it catches your pant and it flips it. So it's faster than, I don't know. Here, put the camera on me. I'll try to demonstrate it. So if I'm
okay, Sony.
So if I'm just pulling my knife out, just pulling it out, it opens it.
All right, cool.
So if you can get a knife that's like that, if a cop stopped you and you open it like that, it's not going to open all the way. So it's a non-assisted knife, and it's not an automatic knife. It requires you to actually draw it from your pant, but because the pant catches it and opens it, it's as fast, if not faster, than an assisted opening. So, but you would probably also have blade links. So in California, this blade is actually illegal, and I would assume that California and New York are probably pretty similar because the length.
Yeah, I think 4 inches is the max.
Yeah. So, and I don't know. In Utah, I don't have to worry about that because in Utah, I could carry a freaking machete in my pants if I wanted to.
Don't cut your nuts off now.
Yeah. That's why I carry this little knife and a much bigger gun.
Scrag is scared of cougars. I got an arsenal. Thoughtful cyclist. I want to hear your theories on the universe and our purpose.
Ooh, that could take a long time.
According to Ray, it is 4
I think it's a good time for me to leave, so I'll see you guys. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. Honestly, I'm not too smart really to talk about that, but how the whole universe came to be. So.
Yeah. I don't have much of an opinion.
Man, that's like an entire video for me. I could do an hour long just screed and not even touch the topic on how I feel about the universe, man. It's deep. That's all I can say.
See, now it's great because of you. I want to start cutting stuff. I just got some socks. This is the cardboard that came off of it. See, because of you, Scrag, now I want to cut stuff.
Just be careful you don't cut yourself there. You're holding that kind of crazy. If I inspire you guys to defend yourselves, then that's all that matters.
Yeah, now
you should always have something.
If someone comes running up on me, I'm like, hey, look what I got. Back up, man.
Exactly. You don't want to be the guy that can't defend themselves in the situation. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, since that conversation on the last live stream, I've been looking up laws about knives and guns. Like, again, you know, like I said in the video, in my own video, I don't really want to be in that position to kill someone. I would rather just kind of like slice them and kind of carry on. But yeah, I've been like looking into the laws and stuff. So, you know, because of you, if I have like a reveal video and everyone thinks it's a brand new bike, all of a sudden I pull out like a knife or whatever, it's because of you, Scrag.
There you go.
Just know that.
So this is kind of in the news recently. Look at what just happened there in Virginia, right? So dude shows up to a baseball field with They called it an assault rifle. It wasn't an assault rifle. It was a hunting rifle, if anything, and then a low-powered hunting rifle because the type of round it used. I'm not going to get too in-depth. But guys start shooting, and immediately there's cops. Now, there's not always a cop nearby. And if I could have a cop tail me all the time like the senators do, then I'd be like, cool, there's a cop here with a gun. I don't need a gun, whatever. But they started shooting back at this guy, and in my opinion, probably saved a lot of people who didn't have guns because they had guns. Mm-hmm. And it's just one of those things. It's like a good guy with a gun is the only equalizer to a bad guy with a gun.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Simple as that.
Did you watch the video? It was like literally nonstop shooting for a good 2 to 3 minutes. It's like, this is crazy to think that's in our country happening.
Yeah. And that's the thing too, is like, especially like where you're at, Chicago, handguns are probably what's doing the most damage. Like people aren't walking around the streets carrying long guns and shooting people.
Yeah. I mean, now they are actually, believe it or not.
Are they?
But yeah, no, most of them are handguns.
But it's one of those things that a handgun is a really ineffective killing tool. Like it kills a lot of people, but it's not a great tool for killing people. It's a great defensive tool for fighting your way to a better tool. So the common analogy is that a handgun is a good way to fight your way to a real gun. And you carry what you can and you defend yourself with what you can. And to me, it's like it's a tool in my tool case that I can use if needed, but I would only use it in a situation where that tool is absolutely necessary. It's got to be a deadly force situation. I'm not going to sit here and just, get in an argument with somebody and to win the argument, pull out my gun. Just be like, okay, you're stupid, go away. That's ridiculous. But that's the kind of mentality I think that most people have when they don't understand guns or they don't understand the proper handling of firearms, things like that. But there's always bad guys out there, right, that are going to use them inappropriately, and there's good guys that'll use them inappropriately. So,
Yep, I agree.
Yeah, makes sense. Now, can you imagine this? Like, Utah is so different from New York City. Imagine, like, one guy steps on the foot of another guy, and then they start arguing, and they just start pulling out guns. Now you got, like, 200 people on one train car, and there's, like, a gunfight. I think that's what people's major concern is, at least in New York City. Like, in Utah, everyone's kind of spaced out, and, it's just different. Like, at least your part of Utah, it's just different.
Yeah, and
not saying guns are bad, but just different thought process.
I understand that. And
areas.
And the alternate to that would be if everybody thinks that everybody else is armed, an armed society is a polite society. So if you have somebody who would normally step on your toes, as a way of trying to dominate you or trying to, oppress you, whatever, I'm just going to use a gangbanger analogy, right? Gangbanger gets on the thing and tells you get out of his seat. And you're like, no, it's my seat. Well, he's less likely to force you out of that seat if there's a chance you might be armed. But in a city like New York, where if you're armed, you're breaking the law, and you don't look like somebody who's breaking the law. So he has the opportunity to try and put you in a situation where you feel threatened, and you look at him and he's obviously a gangbanger or whatever. Chances are he's breaking the law already, so he doesn't care about breaking it by carrying a weapon. You're gonna give in to him. So it's a force equalizer. And here, everybody has a chance to be equal with that firearm. So I think that people are more likely to be friendly because they don't want to be the guy who gets shot because they do something stupid.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm getting shit in the chat. This guy says I should start by cutting the dirty handlebar tape off.
He just did you petty.
That is awesome.
Oh shit.
You're gonna have to get some new handlebar tape.
After this conversation, I gotta look up guns, knives, handlebar tape. It's bad, man. Oh shit.
Somebody asked if I have a problem with longer wait times to get a background check done. So yes and no. And stop me if I'm just rambling on here, guys. So
no, it's all good. We got nothing to talk about anyway.
So I'm going to use an example, and I actually talked. I talked with Chicago a little bit about this on Instagram because we were sharing stories, or Chicago shares a lot of the stories that are happening in Chicago with the shootings and people killed and this, that, and the other, and it's really sad to see that.
Oh, on Twitter, yeah.
Oh, sorry, on Twitter.
Yeah.
And we don't get a lot of that violence. I mean, Chicago is like the murder capital right now, right? So you're going to get a lot more than that than I do. We had a killing here last week that kind of stunned everybody because it was so out of the norm for any kind of violence that we experience here in Utah. And the killing happened because a lady was being stalked by her ex-boyfriend, and he ended up showing up at her child's school while she was picking the kid up, and rammed the car that she was in and shot her on the side of the road, and ended up shooting 2 of her kids and killing one of them. And that lady, in a state like California or whatever, if she chose to go get a firearm to protect herself when this guy started making the threats, she could have waited days, if not weeks, if not months. Like in California, I think it's a month-long wait to get a firearm to protect yourself. Here in Utah, as long as you pass the background check, they do an instant background check where basically they call the Department of Criminal Affairs, or I forget, this Bureau of Criminal Investigation, something like that, BCI, and they run your name and your social security number. And as long as your name and social security number come back clear, you take the firearm home that night. So if I wanted to go get a gun right now, maybe not at 8 o'clock at night here, but while the shop is open, I can go to the store, pick out the gun, pay it for it, and take it home that night. And if I was that lady, I could have gone and done that. Now, that didn't save her. You know, she lived in a state where she could arm herself, but she didn't. For whatever reason, she filed a complaint with the police and multiple times, and the police said, okay, we'll go talk to the guy. The police went to the guy, and apparently that wasn't enough because the guy was crazy and decided he was going to kill her, and he ended up killing her. But he came to her, and if she had had a firearm on her, she might have stood a chance to defend herself and one of her children or both of her children from ever getting killed or damaged. But we'll never know. And that's the hardest thing about this is it's always 20/20 hindsight, right? You're always looking back in time and saying, if I did this, if I did that, things might be different. And I understand everybody has a different side of the argument, saying, well, if she pulled out a gun and started shooting, she could have hit more kids, or she could have hit innocent bystanders. She could have not, she might have killed herself pulling the gun out. Who knows? But we'll never know necessarily whether or not she could have saved herself or saved her children because she never had the gun in the first place. And the people with guns, the police, they were late to get the response. Greg, can you still have multiple wives in Utah? You can have multiple wives in Utah.
I thought you said knives, and then I looked at the question and said, "Why?"
Yeah, you can have multiple wives in Utah. It's not legal, but you can have multiple wives. You can have multiple wives in any state, really. But
you can do whatever you want, right?
Yeah,
just don't get caught, I guess.
That's another topic. The Mormon culture here puts down the whole polygamous thing now, but there's an underbelly, or they call it the fundamentalist FLDS church that still practices that. So yeah, you can have multiple wives here if you want. I don't know why you want more than one. I joke with my wife all the time because she asked me, if I die, being her, would you get remarried? And I said, no, I'd never make that mistake again.
All right, guys, I have to get going. Unfortunately, I didn't say much this stream. I apologize, but yeah, I got to get going. I got a lot of stuff to do. So,
all right, Chicago man.
All right, see you later, man.
See you guys. Yeah,
have fun tomorrow, dude.
Yeah, thank you. We'll organize. Oh, there's to end the stream. My voice cracked. We'll organize on a stream and stuff like that. But yeah, see you, chat. See you guys.
All right, man.
See you, dude.
See you.
Yeah, it's crazy though. I'm reading some of the chat questions here, and it's just like everything from gay marriage to wives to husbands. So let me go back up here.
Oh man, this is funny.
Can you marry your cousin? As far as I know, you can marry your cousin. I don't know. I've never tried. Gay marriage, yeah, they don't have. I don't think they have gay. No, you know what? I think they do have gay marriage now because they made it like a federal thing, right? Like you can't.
The states need to enforce it.
Is that what it is?
It's up to the state. Yeah, like it's legal across the country, but the state's got to enforce it.
I don't think you can legally marry a dog in Utah. We're a pretty backward state as far as like liberal, like social things. It's very conservative here, but other personal freedoms were really, I guess I should say, liberal there. We have a lot of personal freedoms, but there are some things that are staunchly, like, religiously backed by the state because the state's mostly run by Mormons, you know. Can you marry your gay cousin? Yes, because that's like a double negative, right? So, but yeah, the state is very Mormon influenced. I think the population is like 80% Mormon, and if you know anything about Mormons, you know how conservative it is. So it's pretty conservative here.
Do you ever watch Sister Wives?
I don't, but yeah, they. You know so that would be fundamentalist Mormons, but that's kind of like a third branch. So the mainstream Mormons are the Mormons you see in like the majority of the United States. The fundamentalist Mormons, the FLDS,
explain each one, because we don't really see that stuff here. It's just, I don't know, like Christian, Catholics, atheists.
Yeah, I mean, so I have my own view on where they fall as far as Christianity goes. They would call themselves Christians, but like your evangelical Christians would say they're not Christian because they have a different view of what God and Christ relationship is and the relationship that Christ has with people and things like that, where your typical Christian denominations view Christ and God as like a wholly different type of being that man isn't, where Mormons believe that man can basically become like God. So there's a pretty different, theological belief there that Mormons think that, they're more Christian than they are anything else, and Christians think that Mormons are not that Christian. Anyway, that goes way deep down into the Mormonism, coffers. FLDS are like your traditional how Mormonism started. So when Joseph Smith started the religion, he kind of introduced all these new thoughts and stuff. And one of the things that he talked about was polygamy. So in the FLDS religion of Mormonism, it's just their fundamentals, like what Joseph Smith taught, they still practice. Where back in the 1800s, late 1800s, when Utah wanted to become a state, the federal government said you can't become a state unless you get rid of polygamy. And so they did. So when that happened, you had to break this separation. And so the FLDS people said, well, we don't care if you guys want to become a state. We are practicing what our prophet said you have to do in order to, be saved. And so they stuck with it. And then the mainstream Mormons, they stopped practicing polygamy, at least out in the open. And then the TV show Mormons that you're talking about, they're a lot more like the modern Mormons, but they still believe in the polygamy thing. So they're fundamentalists in their beliefs, but they're mainstream in their kind of like approach to it. So it's kind of this weird cross mix. They dress like regular people, where your FLDS Mormons, they dress almost not, I guess, kind of Amish. Like the hair's like this beehive hair kind of thing, and they wear these really long robes and like very, very conservatively dressed. Where the people on TV, they wear regular clothes like you and I wear. They just have one husband and like 6 wives.
But it can't be one wife, 6 husbands.
So they don't believe in that. Yeah. So, and that all gets back to the what they believe the man's role is. They have this priesthood thing, and he, being the priesthood leader, can have authority over all these other women. I don't want to get too far into it because it's just one of those crazy topics that
make a video out of it. I mean, if you make a video out of it, I'm watching it.
Yeah. So here's the thing, like,
spot, but if you make a video out of it, I'll watch it.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I don't want to get. No matter what I say in it, like if you were LDS, you would know what I'm saying is true. if you're not LDS, then what I'm saying is just kind of like, okay, whatever this guy's talking about. And if you are LDS and you're still like a practicing LDS person, you're going to say, well, he's just lying. He's making it up. He doesn't understand. He hates the church, whatever, blah, 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 blah. So everybody has their own different version of it. But yeah. Yoda asked, Scrag, what about the magical underwear? Yes, they have what they call garments that they believe are a symbol of their conviction to the faith and that they possess the power to protect them. So you could call them magical. They don't make them disappear. Some people believe that they'll stop bullets or that they've stopped bullets, things like that. But
what?
Yeah, that they offer protection. And whether or not it does, I don't know. You know, there's always those stories, but it is what it is.
Right.
Every religion has some like basis in truth, right? Or else it would just be somehow easily dissolved. So everything has some kind of basis. You know, everybody who has a religious belief some way had that religious belief or that conviction, you know, testified to them in some manner. So you believe it not just out of like blind faith. You believe it because you've seen an act or something that supported it, so you have no way of denying it. And that's the same for Mormons, for Buddhists, for Muslims, for whatever religion, you know. So my main thing, and this is where I'll sum it up, because I really don't want to get on the subject of religion. It'll be again a long topic. It's like my subject on the universe. The idea,
video, man. Take the long way to work that day and just make that video, man.
The idea of religion to me is totally cool. I don't care if you believe in one God, 10 gods, million gods, no God, hell, no hell, whatever. If you're atheist, as long as you're a good person and you're not trying to force other people into what you believe, that I'm fine with. You know, if you want to have the belief that having multiple wives somehow makes your afterlife better, I don't care. I don't care if you have multiple wives.
What could be better? How is your afterlife going to be better? You have multiple wives now. Are you going to have multiple on top of the multiple?
I don't know, man. Whatever your belief is, I guess. But that, you know, and that's the thing. And Yoda, I understand what you're saying, Yoda. He says religion is another tool to control the masses. And the common, I think, phrase is religion is the dope of the masses. And it very well could be. You know, a lot of harmful things have been done to mankind because of religion. And that's where my thing is. Like Muslims, mainstream Muslims are not the hijacking, blow you up Muslims, yada, yada, yada. But there is a sect of Muslims that believes that. Just like Christians. Christians a long time ago did a lot of terrible things. You know, like the whole Spanish Inquisition, all that stuff was done in the name of Christianity. And people were tortured and murdered for, you know, a long time because of a religion. Now, I will agree that in Christianity, there's less biblical support for doing those things. But, you know, again, with whatever the preacher's telling you, you're going to believe if you believe that the religion is true. And so if the preacher's telling you that this is how you should interpret the Holy Scripture, they can twist that just like they do in the Quran and just like they did in the Bible and just like they've done in other religious texts.
Yeah, sure. Wives and women, two different things. All right, you got me there.
So, and here's my argument for the multiple wife thing. How often do you see a guy who has multiple affairs, right? It happens, right? So he may be married, but he's also having an affair with 1, 2, 5, whoever knows how many women. Now, what if the wife is okay with that? If she's like, I don't care if he cheats on me, you know, I don't care if he goes and spends his nights out with whoever, as long as he comes home to me and takes care of our family. Some women are like that. Well, in that situation,
where? Point them out, Greg, because I can't find them.
You're gonna get your ass kicked, dude.
Where? I don't see these women, Greg.
You have to move to Utah. They're fundamental, and they live down on the Arizona border where there's no electricity.
I'll be in Las Vegas for a few days, so I'll figure it out.
Yeah, I'll show you on the map how to get there.
No, go ahead.
No, it's just one of those things. Like I agree that if people want to have a relationship with however many partners involved in it, my only fear or my only concern is what happens when the relationship dissolves. Because even in a single guy, single woman relationship, the children are who ends up suffering when they decide they don't want to be together. So if you're in a relationship with one guy and 3 women, and somehow, some way that family structure falls apart, you know, whether the guy decides he doesn't want to be with the 3 women or one of the women decides she doesn't want to be with the guy anymore, there's all these little lives that are going to be affected by it. And that's what I don't like. And that's my main concern is like the family structure. But we have just as big a problem, I think, with, you know, regular marriage, let alone multi-family marriages. But
True.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. That's my only concern for all that stuff is like, how are you messing up these children down the line as far as what they see as normal and how women or men are treated in a relationship, you know? But I'm trying to get off this subject, so I'm looking for a good topic to talk about on the right hand side.
Yeah, I'm looking too.
Magic Johnson's the only one with magical underwear. Jeep Cam says yes, he is. Him and David Blaine, I think, are the only 2 with magical underwear.
David Blaine, I haven't seen that guy in the longest.
Yeah, he's doing like a live tour show now where he gets shot in the mouth or something.
He just ran out of ideas. Like,
yeah, shoot me in the mouth. Hot Tamale says, Jav, where were you born?
New York City.
New York.
Born and raised. Harlem, New York.
Now, your parents are immigrants, right?
Yeah. My
both immigrant
dad,
from the same.
No, different countries. My dad's from Barbados. My mom's from Belize.
Okay.
Yeah.
And as far as religion goes, I didn't want to talk about religion. I was going to say, did you grow up in a religious household or?
No, I've never been to church.
Never been to church? I've been to a lot of different churches. So I come from a long, I won't say a long studying of religion, but my dad was from a Catholic family. My mom was from an evangelical kind of Baptist family. And normally that would be a not good combination, but my dad had a big falling out with the Catholic Church, and my mom never really practiced her religion after she left her parents' house. So growing up in my household, there was kind of a tentative rule that like believe in God and Jesus, but there was no like dictation on how you believed. It was just have faith that there's something. And then, you know, growing up, I went to different churches for different friends. Most of my knowledge as far as like the Mormon church comes from being around it for most of my life. A lot of my friends were LDS and then moving out here and all that stuff. So I have a pretty good knowledge base on it, but.
All right, cool.
What do you think of fixed geared brakeless?
It's the worst, man. It's the worst.
It's the worst. That bike that you rode, the one from the other vlogger, I forget her name.
Kelsey. Yeah.
Kelsey. Was her bike no brakes, just fixed gear?
She had a little brake on there.
Like a
My
front
hand
brake?
was on it the whole time. Yeah, front brake.
Okay. Now, was it freewheel in the back or was it straight fixed wheel?
Straight fix.
Okay, so you had to kind of like slow down by kind of fighting against the momentum.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't going too fast, but yeah, I had to do that to slow down.
So I have a buddy who he's a big mountain biker, and he just had an extra bike that he decided to make a fixed gear out of it. And I don't know if he made it with a freewheel or not. I assume he did because it's a mountain bike. And he rides little pump track stuff on it. And he loves it. He says it's one of the funnest things he's ever ridden. But that he does, if it's kind of flat with some, you know, little bit of incline here and there. But around here, there's just so many hills that having just one gear, you would die getting up the hills that we have to get up.
Yeah. That's kind of like if you ever came to New York City, I would take you to northern Manhattan / western Bronx. So it's like really, really steep hills. I mean, if I could find a video of this, I'll show you. So coming under the George Washington Bridge, you're literally going from sea level to maybe 100-some feet very, very quickly. I mean, it's really steep going up that hill. So even though people say New York City is flat, there are some places where you've got to have a gear like that, or you're walking. But yeah, if you ever came to New York City, I would definitely take you out to some of these places that are really hilly.
Yeah. Yeah, same for here. It's wherever you go, you're at some point going to hit a hill, because where I'm at, it's in the valley, but there's little hills here and there, a couple 100 feet of elevation gain. But go 10 or 15 minutes east of here and you end up in the mountains, like where I was in my last video with the trail. That's only about a 15-minute drive from where I live. So
right.
you can get in the mountains pretty quick.
All right.
But so I have a video. I haven't pulled it down yet off of my my GoPro. I just haven't cleared off all my memory cards. But ran into a rattlesnake this last weekend. And so we're climbing up this trail, and a buddy of mine who's just ahead of me, it sounds like he's got a flat because you hear the tss, but it's not his tire, it's the snake, like letting us know that it's right there.
Oh, shit.
And I'm hoping that I caught it on the camera, because I looked down right at it as I'm riding past it. I'm just like, oh crap, it's right there. But yeah, it was a little scary. Makes me not want to go back out on the mountain bike, but
yeah. Once I saw deer on the bike path, like upstate New York, upstate New York, I mean, depending on who you ask. I mean, to us New York City people, it's upstate New York. And I was just like, oh man, there are deer out here. And it's like, they're like good sized deer, maybe like 400 pounds. Wow. And I was just like, oh shit. So I'm just like ringing my bell. And I didn't have like the electronic one that I use now. I just had like the little like ding, 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 ding.
Ching, 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 ching.
Yeah, that's what I had. And I was like, but they moved out the way, and I was like, all right, cool. Get the hell out of here, man.
Yeah. I had a video this winter when I was riding into work and had a deer come across right in front of me. And it was the little thing. I mean, little whitetails out here, they're only a couple 100 pounds at most. And this thing was probably only maybe 100 pounds, maybe 150. I don't know. But I don't have a bell. It's actually illegal in Utah. In our code, you can't have any kind of noisemaker on your bike. So I think you can have like a regular like bell, like a ching ching kind of bell, but you can't have any horn or siren or anything like that.
Wow, that's interesting. So so in New York City, it's actually the law for you to have an audible device on your bike.
Really?
It's the law that you must have one. Police are not pulling over people checking, but if you were in a bike crash and you hit someone and the police felt that if you had a bell, the crash could have been prevented, I could see them writing you a ticket for that. So you're supposed to have a bell. You're supposed to have reflectors or lights on your bike. At night. But yeah, that's interesting. I didn't know that there was a cap on audio from your bicycle.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if it's specific to like sirens, like sounds like a police siren, but the way that it's written is that you're not supposed to have any kind of horn or siren. So my guess is that anything like what you've got would be illegal, but kind of like you guys, we're supposed to have reflectors, side reflectors, and if you're riding a half an hour after or before sunset, you're supposed to have front and rear lights. At minimum, during the daytime, you're supposed to have reflectors. So if you have either or, you're good until it gets dark or just before dark. Then you have to have lights. But
all right.
And you have to have brakes. That's the other thing too. So here, the fixed gear bikes without brakes technically wouldn't be legal. You're supposed to have something that can stop you within like 20 feet or something like that at a normal speed.
Yeah, fixed gear is also legal here in New York City. And actually electric bikes are illegal as well.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. I mean, again, no one is like pulling over people like, oh, let me see if this is fixed. You know, no one's doing that, but it's illegal.
Yeah, I know that here the only thing that electric bikes aren't allowed to go on is the mountain bike trails for whatever reason. But other than that, you can have them for all the other trails as long as you're not going over the trail speed limit. And I don't know, this is another thing that's different about where you guys are and where we're at. So we don't have a ton of bike lanes, but we do have a lot of bike trails. But the bike trails have a speed limit generally of 15 miles an hour, which you and I both know is not that fast. So if you're on a bike trail and you're going faster than 15 miles an hour, you know, technically you're supposed to be in the road, and we don't have bike lanes in the road very often. So it's kind of like damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of thing, because you get yelled at for being in the road, but you're going too fast to be on the trail. And if you're on the trail, you're getting yelled at for going too fast. So
yeah, ride your bike like your kids live here. You know that saying? Do they use that in Utah?
Yeah. Yeah, but that's the thing, is it's like people here, I think it's just because they're so used to just owning the road wherever they're going. Whenever they see a cyclist, their first thought is like, you shouldn't be on the road. You should be on the sidewalk. And it's explicitly laid out, like you're not supposed to ride your bike on the sidewalk unless there isn't, you know, unless it's absolutely necessary for your safety. So, and again, I think if you're on the sidewalk, the only exemption is kids can be on the sidewalk. That's it.
Yeah, up to 13 in New York City.
Yeah, it's something like that here too.
And whatever. So I guess like once you turn 14, you gotta get off the sidewalk, and you also don't have to wear a helmet anymore. Whatever that age is, it's the same age for both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Action Kid asked if the boosted skateboards are illegal. I don't know anything about boosted skateboards.
Yeah. They probably are.
So nobody can really afford.
At least illegal to ride on the sidewalk.
I heard they're like $1,000. I do see some people on longboards, but I don't see too many boarders out here, because they're, especially the roads, because we have such dramatic changes in temperature here, the roads get really beaten up, and there's just not good surface for skateboarders to ride on. So
I'm seeing prices for 200. Oh shit! Casey Neistat one, the one he uses from Boosted, is $1,500.
Yeah.
Damn, that's ridiculous. Yeah, I'll just manually pedal. It's okay.
Yeah. And that's my other thought too on like fixed geared bikes. You get to a speed that you know you can't go faster than unless you're spinning 100 plus RPM. But to get to that speed, you're killing yourself to get there, right? I mean, obviously you build up an endurance to it, and so it's not really that big a deal. But how often do you stop and forget to downshift and then get to going again, and you're in that hard gear, and it's like, oh my gosh, imagine that constantly. If you had to get out of the way of a car or something like that, like coming down the road that maybe you didn't see it till the last second, and you're sitting there like a deer in the headlights because you can't get going because you're in that hard gear. I don't know. I just have no reason that I can think of that a fixed gear bike would be something that would be better than or equal to a bike with gears.
Less maintenance. I will say that, less maintenance.
Yeah, and so this is something that I don't think we talked about before, but so I served at a nonprofit doing bicycle repair and maintenance and stuff like that, and so I learned all the tips and tricks and like ways of maintaining your bike. And bicycle maintenance is so straightforward and simple that if you take the little bit of time to learn it, I can't imagine it's that much more difficult to take care of it on a multi-gear bike than it is on a fixed gear bike.
Right.
Probably the only thing that's hard about it is when the cables stretch, resetting, but that just takes 2 seconds to undo one bolt, let it get to its neutral position, and then tighten up that bolt again. It's not difficult, but
right.
But yeah. So
Cool.
I'm sitting here thinking, trying to still look back up. Jav, how do you make your bike go fast?
just keep going.
Left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot.
You know what's funny? After last live stream, I thought about this one video I uploaded. It was earlier in season 3, maybe episode 3. I can't remember. It's when I had to drop off those bike lights, and like that dad was like really being abusive to his kids. And you said that you would say something to him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, fuck that, man. It's great. It's crazy. And then I'm like, nah, he's not really that crazy. He's just strapped.
Yeah. Well, exactly. And so that's kind of the thing is, I've been asked before by people, what are you afraid of that makes you carry that gun all the time? And my answer is always, I'm not afraid of anything. That's the nice feeling that you have when you know that if it truly gets to that point where you had to defend yourself, you could defend yourself. You've got that tool available. But it doesn't really cross my mind that I can't say something, because I'm just an outspoken person anyway. I usually get myself in some trouble sometimes because my mouth goes faster than my mind, and I'll say things to people before thinking whether or not I should say them. And so, especially at work, I'm always getting the, dude, you're an asshole, because I just don't hold back, I don't have that filter.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jeep Cam points out people that carry are very laid back for the most part. And that's really the thing is, so for me, the gun is so important to be able to have if I ever need it, that I'm going to do whatever I can not to lose it. So I'm not going to purposely instigate something so that I can pull my gun out, because there's a decent chance that I lose my gun right and I can't carry anymore, because if I get any kind of conviction, there goes my ability to carry. So I'm going to fight to make sure that I'm not doing anything to get to that level if I don't have to, so that I don't lose that opportunity to carry. But I definitely agree, Jeep. It's something that most of the guys I know that carry, they're some of the most easygoing guys. And here in Utah, like, there's a lot of concealed carry, there's a lot of open carry. So the difference is there is that some people have an inside the waistband holster like I have. So when I'm standing next to you in line, unless I'm bent over at an odd angle or wearing a really tight t-shirt, you're not going to know that I have a gun. But people who open carry, it's basically like cops. They have a holster that's strapped to the outside of their waist, and you see their gun fully exposed. And everybody in Utah, as long as you're not a convicted felon or anything like that, has the right to carry openly. So you don't have to take a class or anything like that. You just have to have, the age requirement, which is 21 to have to carry a handgun. And the gun can't be in firing condition. And so what that means is that there can't be a bullet waiting to go down the barrel. When you have your concealed weapons permit, which just takes a little bit of time and money, you can carry both inside your waistband and outside your waistband, and you can have a round in the firing position always. So they call it +1. So in my gun, I have a 17 round magazine and 1 round in the chamber. So I have 18 rounds available in the gun, and then I carry a magazine with 17 rounds. So I have a 35 round capacity.
In what situation are you going to be in where you're like, wow, I'm so happy I brought that second magazine, because if I didn't, my ass would have been toast.
So
again, that would just be interesting if you got home one day and you were like to your wife, good thing I brought that second one. If I didn't, I wouldn't be here.
So a magazine is a mechanical piece. There's a spring in it that can fail, and if that spring, for whatever reason, the worst case scenario, that spring fails and the gun stops feeding from that magazine, and if you didn't have a second again, this is assuming the shit really hits the fan, right? Everything
All right,
in the
so
world.
that part about the spring I didn't know. I know like nothing about guns.
Okay.
So all right, that makes a lot of sense now.
Yeah.
So I'm just thinking it's something that's holding the bullets and.
So in the self-defense world, 1 is none, 2 is 1. So carrying 1 magazine is almost like carrying no magazines. If something goes wrong, you're screwed. If you've got 2 magazines, something goes wrong, you have 1 backup, you essentially have 1 magazine. There are guys that will carry, they call it a New York reload. They'll actually carry 2 guns instead of an extra magazine. So it's one of those things that, depending on how far down that road you want to go, a great example. So you're at the mall with your wife, and some douchebag decides he's going to start shooting the place up. You have a second firearm. If you carry 2 guns, you have a second firearm that you can give to your wife, who hopefully you go shooting with regularly, and she's somewhat trained and she could defend herself. So now you've got 2 guns in a fight versus 1 gun potentially. Or, there could be another bystander there that you could give the gun to, something like that. So you could potentially bring 2 guns, good guy guns, into a fight with 1 bad guy. And that's a good thing about carrying 2 guns. It's a lot of weight. I mean, just carrying 1 gun, like you said before, it's crazy as a cyclist to carry a firearm because you're so usually concentrated on shaving grams off your bike and off your gear and off your other stuff that carrying 2 pounds of additional weight for this never going to happen. And I'll be the first to tell you, I'm never in my life going to need to use my firearm. Never. Unless I do. So I'm never going to get in a car accident, but I still have insurance on my vehicle. My house is never going to burn down, but I still carry insurance on my house. It's one of those things. It's an insurance policy that you hope to never have to use. But in worst case scenario, if you had to have it and you don't have it, or if you need it and don't have it, I'd rather have it and not need it. But, and these are all your typical lines that people will feed you and things like that. But I wholeheartedly believe it. It's a religion to me. I believe in this thing about self-defense. I think that in the time it takes for first responders, cops, to get to a situation, if you're able to make a phone call, you shouldn't even be in the situation anymore. Like, if your life's in danger, are you honestly going to sit there dialing 911 if some guy's, shooting the place up and sitting right next to you? No, you're not going to sit there. You're going to try to get away. Well, if you're in a situation where you can't get away, you're not going to be able to make a phone call either. So in that situation, you now have a firearm. And if you have a firearm, you might be able to potentially deal with a threat. Who knows? But there's so much shit involved in the mental side of it that's a whole nother topic of itself. Is like, would you actually be able to take another human being's life? And you have to mentally tell yourself yes or no. Jeep Cam says when seconds count, cops are minutes away. That's another typical thing. Is we expect cops to come and clean up a situation and take a report. That's the main purpose of cops. Like, you call the police to let them know that something bad happened. They come, they fill out some paperwork, they get a signature from you, and they take a report. Every once in a while, cops stumble upon a crime and they break it up, or they'll be at a situation like the shooting that just happened outside of DC. There were cops there. The guy started shooting where the cops were at. So the cops were able to get in the fight and start using their guns to stop a bad guy with a gun right away. A couple people were shot and injured. Luckily, nobody died. Would people have died if those cops weren't there? We don't know. There's a decent chance that that guy would have walked in the dugout and killed multiple people with no way to defend themselves. Why? Because the laws there say that you, as a good law-abiding citizen, cannot carry a firearm. And that, to me, is wrong. New York, you as a law-abiding citizen cannot defend yourself against the bad guy who's already breaking the law by robbing you, raping you, whatever. Carry that knife.
Maybe.
Maybe. And to be honest, that is a much better defense than no defense at all, right? So, but we've all heard the adage of bringing a knife to a gunfight. So if the bad guy's got a gun and you got a knife, unless you're within 21 feet, but that's a whole nother thing. A knife within 21 feet is more deadly than a firearm. But that's, again, another topic. I feel like I'm such a nut job here. I'm like I don't even know who would be the nuttiest nut job.
I think it's fine talking about this stuff because someone like me who has like no gun experience, like almost never see a gun unless I see a cop. It's like, all right, this is interesting. It's pretty. Just to hear like your take on it. Like you have some people who are extreme liberal and want to hear literally nothing you just said. They're not even trying to hear that stuff. And I think that's wrong. I think everyone should at least hear like your side of the story, like you're on the pro-gun side, and you have people who are on the con side. You know? It's interesting to hear both sides of the story. It's really good.
And there's definitely a medium there that I think that's where the real topics need to be covered, or where the real issue is, and I think Jeep would also agree with me in the chat, is that there are definitely people that should not have access to firearms that do, through whatever means. The means that they portray in the media, I definitely think they're wrong about. They always say there's these gun show loopholes, or there's this, and that isn't how people are getting the firearms that they're using illegally. They're getting them usually through theft. So people who own a firearm legally, like myself, someone breaks into the house and takes it. Well, now my gun that I legally purchased is in the hands of a criminal who then could potentially pass it on to other criminals through sales, drug trade, things like that. And that is how the majority of these firearms get into the hands of bad guys. It isn't because they walk in a grocery store or into a gun store and buy it legally. So they make this, they portray the law-abiding gun citizens as these bad guys who, they buy a gun and all of a sudden they go crazy and they walk into a shopping mall and shoot up the place. That isn't how those people generally get their guns. But it was a fun story.
When people buy guns, maybe in Utah, or I don't know like where this happens, but like where in the United States is the gun law really loose to the point where they're not doing background checks? You always hear about people.
There's nowhere.
There's no background check done.
Okay, so this is the only situation where that is possible. So Utah, and one other state, I want to say Arizona, maybe. When the Gun Crimes whatever Bureau puts out their yearly ranking of who has the worst gun laws and who has the best gun laws, California usually ranks #1 as far as the best gun laws, and Utah either ranks number 50 or number 49. So they would say that Utah has the most unsafe gun laws. In Utah, I can go to a gun show and I can have a private transaction with another person. I can sell somebody else my firearm without having to go through a BCI check or calling. So it'd be no different than if I sold you a car or if I sold you a bike or something like that. But I'm also aware that you might be a bad guy. So I've sold guns privately, and what I require is that you have to have at minimum a concealed weapons permit.
Is it the law that you have to actually do that? So a couple of things. One, is that the law that you must check that? That's kind of like making sure someone has a driver's license before selling them a car. And two, buy your gun, or when you bought your gun, is that serial number recorded? And now it's like, okay, this is Greg's gun. He sold the gun. So does that get updated? Is that even recorded initially?
unless your state specifically tracks serial numbers, which I don't think any state actually does, the gun shop will record that your gun was sold to you, and they will record the model number or the serial number of that gun that was sold to you. So if that gun turns up at a crime scene or they find it on the side of the road, they can then put that number in and see, okay, this gun was distributed by the manufacturer to this store. They can then go to that store and they can say, we need your records for this firearm and this model. And then that would tie it back to me because the day I purchased it. They would then find me and say, hey, where's your gun at that you bought from this store on this date? And I would have to either say, well, the gun was stolen. And if it was stolen, why didn't you report it? Which is a crime. And if I sold the gun privately, they would say, who did you sell it to? At which point I either, because I'm a legitimate person, I would say, well, when I sold the gun, I got a bill of sale. I took down the guy's information. I got his name. I got his license number. I got his concealed weapons permit number, things like that, because I want to cover my ass. If this guy turns around to be a nut job, who I just sold my gun to, I want to be able to say that I sold it to him knowing he was not a nut job because of these things, other than a background check. I don't have to perform one, although I can tell the guy that I'm selling the gun to, meet me at a gun shop, and they're going to run a background check on you, the same they would do as if I was buying it from the gun shop. That is an option. Not everybody does it, though, because it costs money to do. It's about a $20 charge. But if I want to really protect myself, I can do that. Who's taking off? Oh, Action Kid. See you, Action Kid. I know it's getting late for you guys, huh? Wow, we're already an hour and a half into this thing. Jesus. So gun show loophole, again, is a misnomer. I can sell that gun not at a gun show. I could go to my next door neighbor and say, hey, do you want to buy a rifle? And he could say, yeah. I say, I'll sell you my rifle. Do you want to buy it? Yeah. I can do that. Here in Utah, it is legal for me to have a private transaction where I sell from one person to another. But it is ultimately on me as the seller to do my best to ensure that the person I'm selling it to should lawfully be buying that gun, whether that's through an actual background check, or what I usually do is require you to have a concealed weapons permit. So to have a concealed weapons permit in Utah, you have to go through a background check that's more extensive. It's an actual FBI background check. And then the FBI background check in Utah's case is done daily. So if you have a felony conviction, that would show up immediately on your record, and your concealed weapons permit would be pulled. So someone would be knocking on your door to come and get your concealed weapons permit. So
very quickly.
Now I can't say it'd be very quickly because I don't know anybody that's happened to. And most of the people who have a concealed weapons permit are law-abiding citizens, so they're not out there breaking the law and doing those kinds of things. But there's always the people who can slip through the cracks, but that's true for any situation. You know, people who, a good instance would be the Sandy Hook shooting. The kid who used those firearms, he was a kid that had access to a firearm that he didn't buy, he didn't rent, he didn't borrow, he stole it from his mom, who legally purchased them. He just killed his mom and took her weapons and then went and killed a bunch of kids. So again, you had somebody who had mental disorder, who snapped, got a hold of firearms. In my opinion, and this is again getting to, as a responsible gun owner, you should be thinking about your firearms as always being vulnerable. My handgun, again, gosh, I always say again, you ask, why do you have your handgun on you when you're at your house? Well, if my handgun's on me, I know my kid's not playing with it. I know it's not upstairs unlocked in a cabinet or something like that. It's where it should be. It's on me, and I have full control over it 100% of the time. The only time that gun isn't on me is when I'm sleeping and it goes in the closet. And that's, you know, a 4 or 5 hour period of time every night. And after that, I wake up, gun goes on my belt, I go to work, do my thing all day, come home, gun stays on me till I go to sleep. So that's the only time that my firearm's not under my control.
Right. It's interesting. I mean, I don't want you to feel like you're taking up all the time, but like it's interesting stuff to hear, because especially living in the inner city, you hear the other side of the conversation so much. And now it's like I'm 24 and I'm starting to hear the next side, the pro gun side from an actual gun owner. And the things he goes through to make sure he keeps his rights, or if you're doing private sales, what you're doing to protect yourself in case that gun, your former gun, is used in a crime. It's just really interesting.
Yeah. Now, there's always going to be unscrupulous people out there, and there may be people that sell their gun illegally to somebody, being that they know that they shouldn't have the gun, But again, you as the gun seller are breaking the law knowingly when you do that. And so if you don't care about the law there, why are you going to care about the law if they pass a law that says you can't do it? There's enough laws on the books already that say don't kill people. But people still go out there and hurt people and kill them. There's laws on the books that say don't rob people, but people go and rob people. So adding another law, all that it does, in my opinion, is it makes it harder for people who are law-abiding, good, honest people to enjoy their rights and freedoms that were given to them, hundreds of years ago.
Yeah. All right, cool.
But I hate to be the voice that is trying to be the only person convincing you that you should have whatever means of protection you feel is necessary for you. But I understand that when you live in a city like you live in, it might be different. See, I've never lived in a city quite as congested as New York, so maybe not having guns in New York is a good thing. I don't know. But at the same time, all that it does is it makes it possible for bad people to have them because they're not afraid of breaking a law already. If they want to rob you, they're going to break the law when they rob you. So adding a gun to that in a city that's not supposed to have guns, what more is there, right? They're already going to break the law. So I just don't think that there's a rational defense for saying that only bad people should be allowed to carry guns, which is essentially what you're doing when you say good people can't carry guns.
True. I agree. But I will say the penalties have gotten a bit more stiff with these illegal guns, at least in New York City. Penalties have gotten a bit more stiff. I think it's like 3.5 years now if you get caught with an illegal gun. I don't know if they changed that. So at one point it was like 9 months, and now it's like 3.5 years, if I'm right. Let me look it up. But yeah, I know like Chicago's still pretty bad with their crime. New York City crime has gotten a lot better over the years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And some people, I think, would say that the reason why New York's crime got better wasn't necessarily because of stiffer laws, but because of the way that they started enforcing the laws through some questionable means like stop and frisk and things like that. Some people have said that, okay, you were infringing on people's constitutional rights to be safe in their personal possessions by looking at them and saying, well, that's a person who looks like they might have a gun. I'm going to stop them and frisk them. And in a lot of cases, people were stopped, frisked, and had firearms and were pulled off the streets, reducing crime. But at the same time, their personal freedoms were infringed upon because they were profiled. And so that's the question is, was it a good thing to infringe on one right to keep you safe, or is there a sense of freedom that's lost when the government can hold their thumb down or their finger down on you and say, you have to do what we say and we can stop and search you whenever we want. You're not safe in your personal possessions. You're not safe walking down the street. And as a minority, obviously it would hit you harder because historically minorities have been targeted overwhelmingly by these actions that the government, takes on. I'm not saying that all the time it's minorities that are stopped and frisked, but majority of the time it seems like that's who ends up being charged with the crimes. Just looking at the numbers.
So with that thing, So this is what happened, right? It's mainly you would have like crime in certain areas, and then the whole stop and frisk thing came about, and people felt it was unconstitutional, which it is. However, if you're checking people in bad areas, you have some really bad areas, and you're getting guns off the street. I mean, it might sound bad. I don't know if I was for it, but like when you hear guns coming off the street in these hot areas, man, it's better because you'll have like where I'm from in Harlem, you'll have all these protests about these anti-gun protests. You'll have so many. They didn't even live up to like 18 getting killed with guns, and parents were just, and a lot of these households are like single moms, and they literally only have one kid. So it's like the kid is gone, and that like the house is completely empty now. So it's like, what are we gonna do? Yeah. So I don't know if I was against it, but I would definitely say you got a lot of guns off the street that way. But then a lot of people got busted for carrying weed for that. So then the law got rewritten, and you could carry a certain amount and get like a ticket. Busted for carrying weed on them. Yeah. Like a roach would have sent you to jail, you know, like stuff like that.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know if anyone in the comments want to put their 2 cents in, regardless if you're a minority or not, about stop and frisk. If people, pretty much, as Greg stated, if you looked a certain way and they felt you had a gun, they could just stop and frisk you.
Yeah. Yeah. And for me, it's just a government should have very, very limited power over the individual. I'm a limited government fan. We've kind of talked a little bit about government in our private conversations. And I think that the government's got a couple of responsibilities that they should focus on: roads, national defense, water, stuff like that being provided to people. I think the social welfare thing and stuff like that, for the most part, the way that it gets used or the money gets funneled into the system, I think that it gets lost most of the time. You know, we have all this taxation, but we have very little help that comes from all the money that gets fed into the government. You see a lot of government workers making large salaries, and you see a lot of bureaucracy as far as they spend the money building buildings or building, you know, infrastructure and all this stuff so that they can give this money to the poor and to the needy. But then they always say, well, we don't have enough. And so they want more and more and more. And what ends up happening is they get more infrastructure, they get more bureaucrats, they get more top end employees, and those people never go away. As a government worker, you know, it's pretty common knowledge that your job security is pretty safe. You know, it's very hard to lose your job as a government worker. And part of that is because government becomes like an organism that protects itself, and it will do whatever it can in its power to prevent the loss of power. And they never want to streamline or trim the fat off of government, because if you do that, then everybody, you know, would at some point face a crisis of, okay, if we have to save money, we have to get rid of workers, and everybody has to step up and do their job better, versus just go along to get along. And as in a lot of government situations, because I've had family that's worked for the government, it's kind of you might come in with the right mentality of, I want to serve the people. But what ends up happening is people who've been there longer than you have kind of squash that. And it's like, no, slow down. You're doing too good a job, or you're moving too quickly. This is a free ride, and you need to ride the free ride as long as you can. And if you stick your head above the crowd, you're going to get chopped off. You know, you're going to get put in a crappy situation at work. And that's where the private sector, in my opinion, is a much better and much more efficient form of government, or of distributing the government's or not government, sorry, the wealth. Because working for a nonprofit, you see where every dollar coming in gets spent. It doesn't go to feed the fat salary of the person who runs the thing. It doesn't go to, you know, buying new vehicles or upgrading software or upgrading air conditioning units. what it does is it goes into buying new bike parts that get put onto bikes that we give to refugees, that we give to women in crisis, that we give to children that don't have bikes, that it gets back into the communities. And the people who work there are not being paid a salary, except for there might be the director of the nonprofit and maybe 1 or 2 store employees who are the shop managers. They get paid a minuscule salary. And the majority of the work is done by volunteers like myself, who don't get paid a single thing for being there, except for we get the good feelings of helping out those in need. And we get to learn from more experienced bike mechanics how to fix our own gear. So that's the trade. And I think that if we got more of that type of situation where the people who really want to help are the people who are trying to work for governments or work for these programs that are distributing the wealth back to the needy, you're going to have a lot less of a loss of efficiency in the government and how that money gets spent. But yeah,
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from. I can see where
you know, and that's the thing too, is you start seeing all these little ways that the government nickel and dimes you. I'm sitting here with my 100-ounce mug of soda that I think in New York you guys tax soda, right? And in New York, or at least what I remember from New York, so many ounces is so much tax, yada, yada, yada. And the reason being that they want to tax you because it's unhealthy to drink soda, or it's unhealthy to drink, you know, sugary drinks. And the idea being that if we tax something, you'll stop doing it, right?
Wait, was that? Repeat that. You cut out. It might just be my internet.
So I was talking about the soda tax.
Right.
So do you guys have a soda tax in New York?
Yeah, probably. I remember the last mayor talked about it, and I mean, like when I buy soda from the store, it's like from the bodega, so it's not like this is the price and here's the tax.
Okay.
Like that.
Okay, so
no, they tried to tax it. Okay, so they didn't.
Okay, so I know that the proposed idea was that if you tax something, you make people less likely to partake in it, right? The idea being that this soda is bad for your health, and so the way that we will stop people from drinking soda or drinking excessive amounts of soda is by putting a tax on it so that it becomes more difficult for you to get the soda. So they're trying to limit your consumption of something you want by taxing it. And where does that tax dollar go? I don't know. But more than likely, it's not going to cure people who have diseases from soda or to helping people who are overweight.
It's supposed to go.
Right. And it goes into a general fund and then it gets redistributed somewhere else. But I love the
like, look at cigarettes. Cigarettes
yeah.
is like $12 a pack here in New York.
Wow.
Maybe $4 here in New York.
Yeah, that's absolutely insane. But again, it's the idea that if you tax something enough, you'll either stop people from doing it, or only people who can really afford it will do it, right? But you still see low income earners are the majority of smokers out there. So they're suffering now, or they are struggling more to feed an addiction. And same would be true for the soda drinkers. But kind of get into the adage that I thought was funny. If you tax something, you make people less likely to do it, right? Or that's the thought. So what are business taxes? When you have a business tax, what are you doing? You're trying to force small businesses from being able to do things. And they just keep wanting to put more and more business taxes or taxes on people who have the ability to redistribute the wealth themselves by either hiring new employees, buying new equipment, keeping the economy going. But the left side is always will put more taxes on the people who are the top earners, or on the businesses, or on those elements, Well, the same should be true for the business as it is for the soda. If you tax something, you lessen the effect of it. So if you tax businesses more, you tax the rich more, what are you doing? You're preventing them from being able to spend the money where they need to spend it. My job, we could have hired several people last year, but because business taxes were what they were, we didn't. When the healthcare law kicked in, my healthcare went up, the company, what they have to pay for healthcare went up. So we didn't hire more people because just the cost of giving them healthcare would be too dramatic of an increase. We couldn't afford to hire people, right? So it's one of those things that a lot of people forget that, while taxes are this kind of hidden fee that we never really pay attention to because it's taken out little bit by little bit, it would almost be better if at the end of the year you had to physically write a check for the taxes that you pay on all the things that you do in life. Because to me, what it would do is it would put the responsibility on you and on me to really think about where our money is going. But when they take it from us in our paycheck, you get your paycheck and you see it after taxes, or you pay your restaurant bill, and at the end of it, you got the taxes taken out. That just becomes all part of the cost of doing business. But if you had to, at the end of the year, write that business check or write that tax check, I think we'd all be a lot more interested in taxes and fighting for every freaking piece of the government that wants our taxes and saying, no, you don't get any more of my money until you start giving me better services. And until then, I'm not writing you a check. But,
yeah. So in New York, right? In New York City, so we have the subway. Each ride is $1.75, right? If you're gonna pay for it like per ride. And in New York City, no matter how far you could go one stop, or you could go from end to end. It's gonna be $2.75, right? So people have talked about everyone hopping the train, and no one pays for anything to try to get the price down. Yeah. So like when you said that, like people are thinking about where is this money going, because like the delays are crazy. This is why I ride my bike to work a lot. The delays are crazy. My train ride should only be like 25 minutes, but a lot of the time it's like 40 minutes. Signal malfunctions, like it was hot this week, so the switches on the tracks don't work properly. Where's my money? Paying all this money for this Metro card,
right?
Just like kind of like what it reminded me of.
Yeah, and that's a great example. So you see that you're paying this fee, but you're not seeing necessarily a return on your investment. You're putting down your money to get a service, but your service keeps getting impacted negatively. And where's that money really going? Well, when you start breaking it down, you look at it and you go, okay, well, who's the top earner in the company that handles the transit system, and how much money are they making? And the drivers of the train,
$200,000 a year,
right?
Top guys are making like $200,000 a year. Easy.
Yeah, and again, you look at that and you go, in the private sector, a lot of times what you would have is somebody may be making $200,000 a year, but they're making that money because they are getting better services in place, or they're making the trains run on time, or you're getting something for it. Because in the private sector, if you don't do your job efficiently, you get replaced. In the government, you don't do your job efficiently and you move from this department to this department, or this department to this department. And
no, you stay right there, man.
Yeah, you stay right there. Exactly.
You stay right there.
And the other way that they fix it is they say, we need another director, so you guys are going to be co-directors, and you're each going to make that amount of money. And then we need to justify how to pay you guys, so we need to increase the cost of taxes, the train ride, through taxes. So I don't know, man. Taxation is that.
This is an off YouTube joke Greg and I have. The thing with government is there's no competition. So when that person at the DMV gives you all that attitude, you still got to go back to that guy at the DMV, regardless if you want to or not. So that's like the
monopoly.
Major unless you're going to be taking cabs everywhere. There's no competition. That's why government runs the way it runs. There's just no competition.
Yeah. And then through the government. Oh, I think my video is freezing, or your video is freezing. One or the other.
Teachers get in fights with students and spit on students and knock out students and all that stuff. And they don't get fired. I mean, they get to that point where they just don't get fired.
Yeah.
When you have a system efficient as opposed to private sector where you're a will employee and you can literally come in today and be gone tomorrow.
Yep.
Just two different worlds.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I agree.
Yeah.
You're very red. You're
I'm getting flushed.
What's
Oh, you mean in
like free market capitalism is the best way to prosperity? Whatever it is, he says like is the best way to run the government is to have as little money, as much money in the American people pocket. That's like his.
I definitely would agree that it's important that people's money should be in their pockets and given to those who they feel have earned their services or have earned their money. And I understand, like things like police and firemen and all that stuff, that is all necessities. You know, having your first responders getting paid well so that they can come out and save you if needs be from a fire, or hopefully come to, you know, I want to say protect your life, because policemen aren't there to protect your lives. They're there to take reports and fill out paperwork. But you know, when your car gets broken into, hopefully they can find the guy that broke into it. You know, that's kind of the purpose, I think, of police. I think it's up to every individual to protect themselves in their own fashion, but that's another topic, or that's a topic we already covered. So there's necessities that the government is the only real way of getting the good or service, you know. But for the most part, the government has expanded upon itself and grown its own power, and it's spread into other things. So you brought up taxi cabs. So taxi cabs formed a union essentially, and they figured out that if they manipulate the government by having lobbyists, they can reduce competition, just like the government. There's no competition for government. So to become a cab driver, you have to go through this whole difficult system to get your card or your diamond or whatever it's called, right? And they only let so many people into that. And the only way to become a cab driver is you have to go through this complicated bureaucratic system. Well, then cabbies started getting threatened because a private entity, Uber and Lyft, came out essentially being cab drivers and doing the cab driver's job, but cheaper and in a lot of cases more efficiently. So now you've got all these cab drivers that are up in arms and they're screaming at the government for protection, saying that Uber and Lyft are, you know, the scum of the earth and need to be regulated and shut down because they're threatening their business. And, you know, it's just one of those things that you see the hypocrisy there, right? The idea that that a private entity is coming in and doing your job better, and so your only reaction to it, instead of becoming a better, more efficient cab company, you go and complain to the government and say that they need to come under the same regulations or be regulated or be shut down by the government because they're threatening your private or your business. It's ridiculous. And this is something I deal with on a daily basis because of my job. I have to meet government regulations that I can see the good in it, but I also see the bureaucratic just over control of it. And there's this meshing point that they don't do that I definitely think could be streamlined and made more efficient, where it would protect the public at large, which is the main goal of the FDA. But at the same time, it wouldn't require all the hoops to be jumped through to meet the regulation that the FDA has. So, Scrag for president, job equals guns. job equals guns. Giant planes without potholes. Yeah. Wow. As a cyclist, you need to watch out for them. Yeah. Yeah. Man. Anyway, what time is it back there? 11 o'clock?
Yeah, it's 11.
All right. All right. Well, I feel like we should probably.
I mean, I'm going to have a pretty easy day tomorrow.
Are you?
Actually, I haven't mentioned this. I have an intern actually right now.
Working for you?
So like I have my team, I have my director, but it seems like she kind of placed him under me. So yeah, I guess working for me in a way. And yeah, it's been decent. He just graduated from Princeton, so he's doing some.
Technical difficulties. I don't know if Job can hear me on his end. I know I'm having a difficult time catching him. It seems like one of our internet connections is not streaming at its full speed.
All right, internet is funny.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's my end or your end.
No, it's me. It even said I disconnected from the chat. That's all me.
Oh, okay.
I love having interns. Yeah, so he went to Princeton, and he just graduated like last week or whatever. So he's working for us now for like the next 2-3 months. So yeah, it should be pretty interesting.
Yeah. So did you have to intern when you started there?
No, I just applied everywhere. Somehow this place called me back. All right, hello, you hear me?
Hello. Yeah, it says that.
Yeah,
it
just completely shut down. Like I did nothing. It shut down and it came back.
Okay.
But no, I didn't have to intern where I work now. I just applied everywhere and things just worked out. But yeah, this guy, actually it was strange. So I looked through the applications for this intern position, and I had like a guy who like has a PhD. He graduated undergrad like 20 years ago. It was really weird, man. It was really weird.
Yeah, I started at the bottom level of my company and just worked my way up to where I'm at now. It was one of those kind of fell into it, and then it just kept getting, advance after advance after advance. So it's been nice. I've been with the company for basically 15 years, so most of my adult life.
All right, cool.
And now I'm talking to the owner, trying to work out buying the company from him. So I don't know if that'll be a soon thing or a far off thing, but he's kind of made a little bit of noise like he wants to retire, and he has me and another guy that I work with that I think he's wanting to pass the business on to. So
oh wow, that would be great, man.
Good and bad, because the stress of it, obviously, when you're in charge of a bunch of other people's lives and making sure that they have a paycheck, it's a stress. And you see my views on the government, and specifically not just a taxation thing, but the government is actively, kind of trying to squash my industry. And so
this government is.
This government is, yeah. I don't know about Trump's government when he takes his monarchy and gets rid of the House of Representatives and just says, okay, monarchy now, King Trump.
Yeah.
Hopefully that doesn't come about. I'm sure I said the same thing about Obama, worrying that he was going to, after the election, declare that, okay, we can't have Trump, so I'm just going to rule for the rest of the next 4 years until. But I don't know. That's just more of that fear mongering. I'm sure everybody on the left is basically going through what everybody on the right went through 8 years ago. You know,
it's not on this level though.
No, not on this level. But at the same thing, it's rhetoric that just keeps escalating, right?
Yeah,
it just gets worse and worse. Right. And Trump is a perfect target to paint with all the stuff that they're saying about him, as far as, you know, he's not qualified. Agreed, he's not qualified. But at the same time, I think what that does, especially if we get through 4 years and the country is still the country, what it says is you don't have to be this lifelong bureaucrat coming up through the government to be the president. So what it can do is it can open up the possibility for qualified individuals from the private sector coming forward and taking on the reins of being the president and potentially doing a good job. Now, I'm not saying Trump's doing a good job. I'm just saying if he makes it for the next 4 years and, you know, if the government continues on, America's still America, and, you know, it's no better or worse than it was 4 years ago, then it's a case study, you know, and seeing that the government can be infiltrated by the outside and still work. Because it's definitely this deep incestuous relationship that they have with each other, where it seems like the right and left are working against each other, but really they're working together, making sure that they keep power. They make it look like on paper that they're fighting, and they out in public, they yell at each other and say, you guys suck. You guys, you know, don't know what you're doing. But when the doors are closed and they're in private,
they're all hanging out.
They're all hanging out.
Prostitutes coming over. They're like all best friends back then.
Yeah, man.
It's like me and my friend, we used to say, like, obviously wrestling is fake, right? So like you'll have like these really bad rivalries, and we will always say after wrestling goes off the air, they probably go to McDonald's together and talk about the matches and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's probably the same thing in politics.
Exactly. It's a show. It's a put on.
Look at Paul Ryan and Trump. Didn't they hate each other?
Yeah,
I think they're slapping fives.
I think that's just Paul Ryan trying to bow down to Trump, because ultimately, if you're bowing down to Trump, Trump doesn't care. His ego just likes to be stroked, and Paul Ryan's stroking his ego and biding his time or whatever, because Trump is that outsider. He could be under that table. I think, but this is the idea that Trump being that outsider and kind of setting this precedent. It just goes to show that, you know, what the Democrats and what the Republicans do. In this case, it's the Republicans who are putting their tail between their legs and, you know, kissing up to him and trying to appease him, because he's that type of ego, and they understand that if they want Trump to do what they want, they have to do that. Trump is not a Republican. If you look at what he truly wants and what he's done in the past, he's not a conservative. He's a New York conservative, meaning he's very liberal in most of his leanings. He's kind of like your old school Democrat. You know, he's more of a Bill Clinton. He's not this progressive liberal like we're seeing now on the Democrat side, but he's not a conservative Republican either. So he's this middle ground. Yeah, you're listening to political talk radio. Sorry, Prairie. But he's someone that the Republicans, if the Republicans want to push their agenda, they got to kiss up to him. The Democrats have already kind of, you know, said Trump's Hitler or whatever, so they're never going to appease him. So it's the Republicans that have to try to kiss his ass to get their way, because
they don't want to get canned. Yeah. They don't want to get canned. Look at the FBI director. Trump said, you know, he goes back and forth. I have full faith in him, and now he's covering for Hillary, and now I want to keep him, and now I'm going to fire him.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I think half of it is also, I don't want to lose my job. I got a sweet gig going on here. So I just got to say what I got to say for the next 4 years and keep it going. And this kind of goes back to what you were saying. the whole government thing. Doesn't matter how well it's being ran. You're just trying to keep your power. You're trying to keep your money coming in. I mean, you have senators out there. Senators make what, $200 a year or something like that. Like, I don't know. It's not a lot of money.
Base pay, yeah, from their base pay.
Yeah, from their base pay. But there are some senators out there who have a net worth of well over $100 million.
Yep.
You know, like, why would you have $100 million and go to work for $200,000 a year? Doesn't make sense.
Yep.
You know.
Yeah, it's those sponsors, man. It's like NASCAR.
You gotta keep the sponsors coming in, man.
Keep those sponsors, man. And that's the thing. Like, what if we made it so that every politician, their jacket that they wore, they had to wear sponsorships for their top donors. So you could really see who was giving the money to the senators and to your congressmen. Man, if on the back is like Pepsi and like Marlboro and all that stuff, you'd be like, oh, I see why you're trying to get, you know, this law passed to ease regulations on the tobacco industry, because your top donor is Marlboro or
yeah, just
whatever.
Just right across the chest, you know.
Exactly. You know, guy has to come out there wearing the hat.
Some people you couldn't even see their jacket, their sport coat. It'll just be fully
It'll
covered.
be so covered.
Layers on top of layers, you know.
Exactly. And that's the thing, is like they get bought so early on in their political career that they become, you know, kind of the whores of whoever their top donors were. And so they're always kind of on the back side of the deals, trying to sweeten the pot in whatever legislation they put forward, trying to make it so that their top donors reap some benefit.
Yeah.
And it's true for both Republicans and Democrats, but that gets back to the idea that it's a parasite. It's something that sucks off the system, and its whole purpose is to keep sucking, you know, and to keep getting the blood or the income from the taxpayers, so that it furthers their agenda and their political donors' agenda, because those political donors ultimately is how they got their multi-million-dollar home and how they got all this other stuff, because being a public servant doesn't pay that well. You know, yeah, it can pay a lot, but it doesn't pay that well.
Yeah, I mean, you're maxing out like at $200 a year as a senator, as a congressman. I mean, you're not making a whole lot of money. And like, if you Google the net worth of senators and just Google net worth of senators, there's a Wikipedia page that has it from the richest to the poorest. The richest guy, I think, was like 300 million or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, can you imagine that, Greg? Why would you have $300 million and still go to a job?
Exactly.
Doesn't make sense.
Nope.
But now when you look at his sport coat, he got all these sponsors on it.
Yeah.
Now it adds up.
Yep. Makes sense. But and it becomes an incestuous thing with your own family. You know, you see all these senators that get their sons, their nephews, their brothers, their whoever, and so you end up with these political families like the Bushes or like the Clintons, who once they figure out how to really game the system, they start bringing in family. And I guess you could even go back to like the Kennedys. The Kennedys are probably one of the best examples of it. You know, the whole Camelot thing. All the brothers were senators or vice president or president, or I guess they weren't vice president because Bobby didn't become vice president, but he was in a top political position because of his brother. You know, and while they might do good while they're there, because you got to do some good to get elected in the first place, ultimately what becomes the main purpose of your position is getting reelected. You know, once they finish their election cycle, they go right back to getting into the next election cycle. So there's this short period of time where they might try and do something, but the majority of their time is spent campaigning to get reelected. And you gotta have money to do that. So they take the money from whoever their biggest donors are, and those biggest donors, they want their political, you know, needs fulfilled by them once they have the power to do it. And so you're kind of the whore to whoever your donors are.
And don't dare try to break that sponsorship up. They'll
Don't dare.
Make sure you never run for shit again.
Exactly. Or you'll end up with like a Trump, who was one of your big donors, and now he's your boss at the top. And he's like, well, if you don't do what I say, I'm going to expose you for all these things you did for me in the past. I'll blow you up on Twitter.
So true. misspellings and everything. Don't worry about
Exactly. Cafefe or whatever it was.
it. Yeah.
Man. How did we spiral off this? And here's the thing, is like, I almost feel like we should have a whole different channel dedicated to guns, politics, whatever. Like cycling, what is cycling? You know, it's just a means of transportation so that we can get home to talk about guns and politics.
Or go to work and talk about guns and politics.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's pretty cool though. I didn't realize you were like so hardcore into government or anti-government, if you want to call it that, and had strong views on religion. You got to make a video about it.
I'm trying not
You're
to.
waiting to work tomorrow.
I'm trying not to get blown up by all the religious fanatics out there that no matter what you say, man, you're wrong. No matter what you say.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of it, is like in America, I'm just glad that I can say what I want, and you shouldn't have to worry about losing your job or whatever. But we're kind of getting to that point. I'm a little bit worried about stuff like that. So I might say something in one of my videos that someone gets a hold of my business and says, hey, you've got an employee that said this. And that's why I try not to rock the boat too much with the videos. This live stream is a little bit different because it's on your channel.
Don't worry, your channel link will be in the description.
Just make sure you misspell something. But it's just one of those things that I try not to veer too far off and be that person that ruffles too many feathers. And to be honest, like my own personal beliefs have changed so drastically over the years. Like I was somebody who went from, yeah, there's probably a God, to there's most definitely a God, to there may or may not be a God. And if there is a God, I don't think it's what we think he is or what majority of religions say. And so I've gone through some, and in each phase, I would be hardcore defending it. So 10 years ago, me would be arguing with me saying, most definitely there's a God and this is what he teaches. To today, me saying, that's what you believe and that's okay, but what you believe, I can't believe. And this would be me arguing with myself, because where I've evolved from, the things that I've experienced in my life, and you're in your mid-20s now, and I will tell you, in 5 years, you will not be the same individual that you are today. And if you start having kids, you're definitely not going to be the same individual that you are today. And as you grow and gain more experience, you could probably even look back 5 years from where you are today and say who you were 5 years ago. Is that the same person you were today? And more than likely not. And depending on, what your focuses were at that time, you may or may not be drastically different, And for me, I'm a totally different person than I was 20 years ago. 20 years ago, I was probably a more left-leaning liberal because of my upbringing. My parents were both liberals, and that was the teachings that I followed. Well, then after I got a job and after I started paying taxes and after I started seeing where my money was going and things like that, I started getting more conservative and I started going my own direction. And then when I moved from California to Utah and I saw how drastically different life can be when there's more freedom involved, that really opened my eyes and changed my perspective on the role of government in life and things like that. And when I started having kids, it became this whole different purpose in life. The purpose in life wasn't for this, it's for this, and this. And it changes you. So, yeah. Got a cycling question for you there. Nicholas asked you.
How much for the horn? You could probably drop like $12, $13 on a horn. Speaking of horns, stay tuned to my channel. So that's all I'm gonna say. I got something good coming.
Awesome.
But yeah, like a good $12, $13. If you go on Amazon and you look up electronic horn, you should find something pretty decent there.
Don't you even?
And they're pretty loud.
Your description, I think you have your Amazon, like most of your gear.
Yeah, it
you
might be
have
in my
links.
description. Yeah.
Yeah, most of Jobs' gear, he has a link in his video descriptions. So if you want the horn, I'm pretty sure that was on there. You can just click right on that
It's
link.
just that horn has a light on it, and the light burned out like in 3 weeks or a month. So that's why I don't go advertising that specific horn. But if you look up like Hornet or some of the cheaper horns, they're pretty loud. They're 140 decibels. So that's right about what a smoke detector is rated at. So they're really loud. I really like them.
Job is growing horns. Your girlfriend's funny, dude. You still got that beard. I just realized you talked about cutting it off.
Yeah, we were just talking about that tonight, me and my girlfriend. Yeah, I'm thinking about shaving it off. Yeah, I think I kind of did what I wanted to do here.
I'm telling you, man, you would easily shave off 2 or 3 watts if you shaved it. Cut that beard off. All of a sudden, you'll be flying, man. Less wind resistance. You'll be so
yeah. I could feel it like on those windy days when you get those crazy crosswinds. You ever feel like the wind tug on your GoPro?
I used to, yeah.
Crosswind?
Yeah.
I feel it on my beard, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I first started riding, I still had a goatee. I should actually link those pictures to you on Instagram so you can see how goofy my facial hair was. But yeah, like for a long time I had a beard, but my beard is not nearly as nice as your beard. My beard is somewhere between you and Chicago, where Chicago can't quite grow one, and you can grow a pretty decent one. I'm somewhere in the middle there. And when I started losing weight, what I found out was that the helmet strap kept pinching the hairs. And so like I would be moving around and it would just be tugging on them. So I ended up shaving and just having a goatee. And I hated the way I looked with just the goatee, especially once I started losing weight, because the goatee seemed much bigger on my face than it did when I had a lot of cheek to kind of go with it. And so I shaved my face, and in one of the pictures I took, I have like the ultimate 70s porn stash. So I'll have to put that up on my Instagram just as a throwback, maybe next Thursday or something like that, since Throwback Thursday is kind of over now. But yeah, it was kind of funny.
Well, tomorrow is Flashback Friday. So.
Oh, there you go, Flashback Friday. Maybe I'll throw it up then.
Get another chance for the week to throw something up.
There you go. It's pretty goofy looking, but yeah. LRAD. What's an LRAD cannon, Prairie? I'm not sure, unless you're just referencing a video game gun that you're making fun of the fact that I carry a firearm with me while I ride. Maybe that's what you're doing. But yeah. Well, I feel like we're starting to wind down a little bit. I'm not. How many viewers do we have? There's 9. Right, we're at 10 right now. Long range acoustic device. Police use it. Sound weapon against crowd. So Prairie, earlier in the topic or in the discussion, I mentioned that in Utah we're not allowed to have any kind of sound emitting device other than, I think, a basic bell on our bikes for whatever reason. I don't know why. But I'd love to have a long range acoustic device. That sounds pretty hardcore to use as a weapon against crowds.
What would be the decibel rating on that, man? Like, holy shit.
Oh yeah, I totally forgot. So in one of my videos, or maybe it was in one of Prairie's videos that I commented on. Oh, it was. He had a lowrider that was hitting the switches at the stoplight. I don't know if you watch Prairie's channel, but
yeah,
it made me think in California, like growing up, that was a commonplace thing that you would see all the time, would be cars with either hydraulics or airbags doing their little dances or whatever and going around corners with 3 wheels and all that stuff. But in Utah, we have a vehicle code that every year they do a safety inspection on your vehicle. And if your vehicle doesn't pass a safety inspection, you can't register your vehicle for that year. So you can't have hydraulics, you can't have airbags, you can't have any of that cool stuff on your vehicle. But so I kind of miss that. Like you see it every once in a while. People might have just an airbag system, but they have it with their regular suspension. So the cars go up just a little bit or down a little bit. They can't slam them like they do in California or back in Chicago. But I mean, in California, I remember guys would literally like have the car's frame sitting on the ground, and the wheels would be sucked up off the ground in the tire wells. That's how dedicated people were.
You ever watch wrestling when Eddie Guerrero used to come out? He used to like have the car do the lowrider shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eddie Guerrero, man, that's a sad case. But
yeah, man, that was like my favorite wrestler, man.
Yeah, he was intense.
And Chris Benoit case is even worse.
And Chris killed himself, or killed his family and killed himself because of Eddie.
Because of Eddie? Really?
Yeah, so he went through a major depression because him and Eddie Guerrero were like the bestest of friends. And
yeah, ironically, they both won their championships on the same night. I think it was like WrestleMania, whatever. They both won their championships, and like they both killed themselves. Well, they both died. Like,
yeah, Eddie died of
time.
I think Eddie died of
heart failure.
Heart failure, but it was complications from steroid use. And Chris Benoit was also using steroids and was having mental complications like the roid rage, and then the depression after losing Eddie amplified that, and that's why they also said that he probably suffered from the multiple concussions that the football players are suing the NFL over now, the brain damage from the multiple concussions. So he kind of had this triple effect of messing with him, and as messed up as it was that he killed his family and then killed himself, but majorly sad. But what's really sad, like, is how many of the professional wrestlers ultimately die of this enlarged heart or heart attack or some kind of steroid related cause, because that was the way that you made money in wrestling, was being bigger and that, super cut and all that other stuff. So in order to be a top tier wrestler, you had to take steroids to be able to get on camera. And I don't know how much you know about how they determine who does or doesn't get matches and how all that stuff works out, like the heels and the baby faces and how everything plays out behind the scenes. But you basically had to prove yourself to the managers, mostly like Vince McMahon and people like that, to win the ability to get shots at getting on TV. And so any given night, you may or may not wrestle depending on where you fell on the card. So if a wrestle match is going really well, if the crowd's really into it and things like that, the ringmasters will let the ref know to keep the match going. So the ref will correspondingly tell the wrestlers, keep the match going. It's, it's generating a lot of buzz or whatever. People are really excited.
Yeah. I've seen that before.
Yeah. And if they're not excited, the ref will tell them. And so you may have a match that lasts 2 minutes. So depending on where you are on the card, you might be so far down that unless all the matches go really quickly before you, you might not get to wrestle that night on TV. So, it's really important that you do everything in your power, I guess, to impress Vince McMahon, whether it's through your physical abilities or through your physical stature, through your physical attributes, whatever. And especially in the 80s and 90s, if you weren't one of those behemoths with like muscles on top of muscles, Vince wasn't having anything to do with you because you weren't visually appealing for the cameras. So in order to get on TV, you had to do steroids. And,
yeah,
it's really sad because all those guys now are dying. And those are the guys that I grew up watching. And what was my childhood is, slowly being picked apart. And you're seeing all these guys now with all the degenerative back disease and blown out knees and enlarged hearts, shut down kidneys and livers. And it was all for, the buck, but.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I mean, if you look at the wrestlers nowadays, two things. One, they don't carry as much fat in their body. They have like a by far more lean body and two, they're just overall smaller. So like a guy like Hulk Hogan had a lot of muscle, but he also carried a lot of fat.
Yeah.
And I think the training nowadays is by far more different. While back in the day it was just pump steroids and pump iron and just get huge. While it looks like now the guys they just seem to be in better shape overall. Like better shape, better health. They're not as big, but I could see these guys living a lot longer than the guys from the 80s, you know.
Yeah.
And hopefully they do, you know.
The lower body fat, they're saying, also plays its own hell with your health, because your system is taxed so much harder when you're carrying that low body fat. They're actually finding this out now, especially with like UFC fighters. I don't know if you follow that too much.
Here and there.
So what they're finding for like UFC fighters is before a match, they go through these severe weight cutting regimes to get their weight down. And so the amount of stress that puts on your body to have a low body fat percentage and low water density and everything else, so that you're as lean as you can be before the weigh-in, it racks your kidneys really, really bad. And so guys are getting kidney damage, and it's kind of taking that effect. And so when you do it long term, when you're carrying such a low body fat percentage, it puts this whole other stress on your body that it's not designed to have. You know, people aren't designed to be 3, 4, 6% body fat. And the longer you're like that, the more damage it does long term on your vital organs. But
Gotcha.
Hey man, you get paid a lot of money, right?
Yeah, I mean,
but a lot of politics back then. Oh yeah. There's still a lot of politics behind the scenes in wrestling, Freddie. It's actually kind of interesting now. I'm kind of curious what's going on since Undertaker's retired, because he was kind of the one like stable person for all these years in WWF or WWE that I think held the organization together. And now with him stepping down, I'm not sure if he's stepped down completely from being involved in the behind the scenes stuff, but if he's not there at all, it could be pretty hectic and crazy.
Yeah. At least Triple H is still around. You know, he's not fighting often, but at least he's like still there. And Booker T is a commentator. I don't know if he like helps design matches or whatever, but Booker T is still there.
Yeah.
Booker T, who else? John Cena. He's like a little newer, but you know, he's been there like 15 years. John Cena, Randy Orton. They'll keep money coming into the business.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is Vince will still have the money coming in, but I think what Vince's big thing is he relied a lot on Undertaker to be kind of the captain. So, and I don't know how familiar you are with the behind the scenes stuff with Undertaker. Undertaker was kind of the judge. So whenever there was any kind of issue behind the scenes with the guys, if, you know, somebody had beef with each other, it went to the Undertaker. It didn't go to Vince McMahon. And the Undertaker would be the person who would decide how things would get worked out. And if they couldn't figure it out, then it would go to Vince. And so Vince always had this little firewall, because Vince is absolutely nuts. And Undertaker was one of the few people.
That's not just an act.
Yeah, no, it's not. And Undertaker was one of the few people who could work both sides. He was sane enough to control the wrestlers, but insane enough to be able to interact, you know, with Vince. And he was this great manager kind of position, but now that he's gone, I don't know who's in charge of that spot now. It could just be that Vince has to be the judge again, and so he's just going to start, you know, getting rid of people left and right that don't go his way and do what he wants and this, that, and the other. But
all right, so I don't know if Undertaker is completely gone, but I've noticed over the last year, wrestlers have been just straight up quitting WWE or have been released by the WWE.
Yeah.
Just something I've noticed over the last year. Not sure if it has anything to do with Undertaker even or whatever.
And that would be my guess, is that without him there as that voice of reason, there might be a lot more direct interaction with Vince that is rubbing people the wrong way. and they're just cutting their ties and bailing. But we'll see. Yeah. I'm like you, Freddie. I don't watch wrestling on any kind of regular basis. I do a lot of the behind the scenes stuff at work. Most of the guys are my age, and so we all have the same memory of the good old days. And we very commonly make wrestling references like Macho Man and Randy Savage and Hacksaw Jim Duggan and all that kind of stuff. And
yeah, Hacksaw looked like he's been hit a few times.
yeah, he definitely has. I think that guy's just hit a lot of bar tables a few times. Yeah.
When you say good old days, I'm thinking of like early 2000s, early to mid 2000s with Kurt Angle, John Cena, Randy Orton, Triple H, Rob Van Dam.
No, that's too late.
To me, that was like the good stuff. Now wrestling is too deep for me. Oh, The Godfather, when he had all his hosts with him, that was like good stuff then. But
so
like, my parents really liked it in the 80s stuff.
And I like the like really politically incorrect stuff, like the Iron Sheik and Sergeant Slaughter, and you had like Vince just going out of his way to make all these really overly overt racial, things that, as terrible as it is now looking back on it, like that's what I grew up with was, when we were having the Iran-Contra issue, you had the Iron Sheik fighting Sergeant Slaughter, and then eventually Sergeant Slaughter joining the Iron Sheik, and it was like this huge thing, and it was, again, just playing off of people's, deepest, darkest, I don't want to say racism, but that's kind of what it was. But at the same time, it was this really just in your face way of addressing it, like we hated Iran at the time. So who's the best bad guy you can come up with? Or, we hated Russia for all those years, and you had Ivan Volkov and whatnot as your main bad guys. And there was always the really rah, go get him Hacksaw Jim Duggan or Sergeant Slaughter. And sometimes those guys would turn heel and be the bad guys for a little while, but ultimately they would always come back to being the good guys. And that's why Hulk Hogan was such a big deal, because he was like the quintessential good guy for so long until he went bad. And when he finally went bad, it was like, it was a big deal, but it was also where his career really took off. Without the NWO, Hogan would have just kind of probably pittered off and just been a movie action star and never wrestled again. But because of the NWO, he stayed mainstream and relevant.
Back to the whole Iraq thing, like when we were in Iraq again under the second Bush, you had Davari, and like people would boo him, and they would put the whole like wanted dead or alive, but they'll have alive crossed out. They'll have like those kind of signs. Yeah. Which was good for WWE to like use politics to like get some like a good stir up in the storyline. Or even right now, the guy from I think India, he just won the WWE Championship, the Raw Championship, and like that's like a good stir up based on like racial tensions, for example. Like right now it's pretty tense with the Middle East, quote unquote. But yeah, it's pretty interesting how WWE uses that stuff to help bring matches and bring money into it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Yeah, man. Well, definitely, I have a lot to say about everything, I guess, but you pick a subject, I'm sure I could find some way to argue about it.
You gotta make videos, man. Make the religious the video based on religion / Mormons / guns. I think videos like that will get you good amount of views, great exposure. It's not just cycling based. You're touching on other things, which is great.
Yeah,
I think that's pretty good. That'd be like good stuff for you to go with.
And that's actually something that kind of came up. I did a thank you video. It actually posted yesterday, just because I noticed on my channel that I had hit like 225 subscribers, which I don't pay a lot of attention to to my subscriber numbers. It's not something that drives me or anything like that. I'm not focused on likes or anything like that. I like interacting with people. I like getting comments and talking back and forth with people. And so the more I get comments, the more incentive I have to doing videos. But it was one of those things that as I've been doing these videos and getting more and more subs, like I'm kind of losing a direction, you know, like I'm getting more videos where it feels like it's just me riding the bike and not talking. And it gets harder and harder to think of topics to talk about. But at the same time, like what you're saying is it could get you more views or it could get you more subs and things like that. I worry about that because the more views and the more subs I get, the more driven I get to produce that kind of content that's more controversial or whatever, which at the same time as giving me more views and potentially money from AdSense, it also opens up the whole other door of now you're just making content to be controversial and not be you. And I think that's like where Durian Ryder is right now. If you watch Durian Ryder's videos, is he's just constantly.
I can't watch that guy no more. I can't watch that guy no more. He's
So
getting into
there you
arguments for like 17-year-old girls. But the difference between you and Durian Ryder is you really feel that way, and it seems like you don't want to display that too much on YouTube because you may fear the backlash, or you may fear you're not going to be yourself. Durian Ryder, he knows he's not himself. The man uploads like 10 videos a day. That's how he keeps his view count so high, so that he could keep collecting money off AdSense. So Durian Ryder is in a bit of a different boat. But you would actually legit say, I feel this way, and that's what I'm going to talk about. As opposed to Durian Ryder, if he could take a stab at someone real quick, he'll take a stab at you and move to the next guy.
And that's what I'm saying, though, is that I don't know for sure because I haven't been watching Durian forever, but my guess is that he did start at a good place, and then slowly as the popularity grew, what he found was the best way to feed that fire was to be controversial. And I'm not saying that that's what I would do, but what I'm saying is it's almost like a drug, right? Until you take that first hit, you don't know how you'll react. And you might be somebody who can make a controversial video and not care that it just made you $100 on AdSense because you got 1 million views. But you might also be somebody who looks at that and says, holy shit, I got 1 million views and made $100. I'm going to keep making these controversial things, even if it's not what I believe, but it gets me money. And you turn into that controversial drug user that your whole purpose becomes making clickable videos that gets you that money and less about who you are and what you really represent. And that's just a fear.
Is the direction you go.
I don't
when
know.
you start uploading 10 videos a day, calling out people who have literally never ever said a word to you on the internet, you know, now you need to check yourself. But I don't see you going that direction. This guy calls out whoever he can, and like these people literally have no clue who he is.
Yeah, that's true too.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. And I don't want to open up this can of worms about drugs because, you know, some people are, you know,
he was
very staunch and he was. I'm just saying for myself, like I've never touched a single drug other than caffeine and aspirin or whatever. So for me, my fear has always been in the back of my mind about drugs because I have an addictive personality. So like with cycling, when I started cycling, it was not something that I kind of did. It was something that just took over my life. It became, I mean, I sold my truck because of it so that I could keep riding a bike, so that I didn't lose the incentive to ride a bike. Years ago, I played paintball, and I went out one time with my Boy Scout group, and we played paintball with slingshots. Like within a week, I had a paintball gun. And then within a year, I was working at a paintball store and playing semi-professionally, you know, traveling to tournaments and things like that. Like that's the kind of personality that I have, is that when I get into something, I just go into it like hardcore. And I worry that, you know, I would always be able to have that control of me being me versus me being controlled by the clicks. And I don't know, but again, that's that fear of taking the first toke, you know, putting that out on the internet and getting positive responses might fuel that vibe. I don't know, but so far it's been good. Like so far I haven't cared. It's been nice getting more interaction, getting more subs, getting this far, like with you in Chicago, like talking with you guys on a more personal relationship basis, you know, talking on live or talking through Instagram or, you know, that way. Like that to me is awesome. But at the same time, I think Durian Ryder was that guy at one time. Like Durian Ryder.
If you look at Durian from like 4 years ago, he had great stuff. Like really good, like how to get into road cycling and how, you know, what you should look for. It was really cycling related and really vegan related, and that was it. And then like I don't know what has happened over the last year or 2 years now, but now it's like he called out Casey Neistat. He called out vegan gains. I mean, Freely, he was dating her for a bit, and I remember he made a video about like how a man should never hit a woman, and like after he broke up with Freely, he talks about how they used to have like fist fights. They used to get into physical altercations. You know, so
right.
I don't know what happened to that guy over, you know, from time he started to now, but something happened to that guy.
Yeah.
And it's probably something outside of YouTube or something. I don't know what happened to that guy.
Yeah. And that's the fear for me though, is something happened to make him do what he did. And it's not just him. I mean, it's not just Durian Ryder. It's the cult of personality thing, you know, it builds. And once you get that following or that popularity, like Donald Trump, you know, he is so focused on being the popular guy that he just says and does whatever because it gets a reaction, whether it's good or bad. He's being reacted to and he feeds off the reaction. Durian Ryder gets positive and negative comments, but he's getting the reaction from his videos. He's getting the views, he's getting the dollars, whatever. I would never want to be that guy that gets the reaction video that makes me think, man, this is all I got to do is pump out stuff. Doesn't matter what it is, you know? Just recently, like I haven't really cared about Durian Ryder's views so much. I didn't think of him as a positive or a negative so much, but now I'm really kind of focused more on the negative side because of that video that came out by the Sam guy. I don't know if you followed it or saw it. Essentially,
it's been a while since I like watched this stuff, but yeah.
Okay, so this was like maybe 2 weeks ago. Durian Ryder ran into this guy that Durian was just blowing up on the internet, saying that he ruined his vegan festival and all this other stuff in Thailand. Well, that guy that he was saying did all this had a run-in with him that Durian didn't record, but that guy did. And Durian Ryder just went out of his way to bully this guy and threaten him and like step up on him. And it was a totally different side of Durian that made me lose all respect for Durian, because he always preached the, you know, I'm trying to do the good thing. I'm always the positive guy. I'm always the, you know, whatever guy. But this guy has video proof showing that, no, that's not Durian Ryder. So everything that Durian Ryder has ever said that he doesn't do, he obviously does do. And I lost all respect for him. And while I'll still listen to his videos or still watch his videos because there may be some good in it, now it's always got to be taken with that grain of salt, because he ultimately has lied this whole time. And for whatever reason, you know, he's a habitual liar, and you can't trust anything that he's ever said because you don't know how far back the truth and the lies started. But you know, he does have some good advice, but he also has a whole lot of bad advice, and he has a lot of controversy there that, you know, you got to kind of sift through all the bullshit to get to the non-bullshit, if there's any in the video to be had. His bike reviews now are so just slap a 40 cassette on it, put mountain bike gears. That's how you make any road bike.
Yes. I saw that.
It's like, Your bike review does not have anything to do with the bike. It's whether or not the bike can fit a compact crank and a 40 cassette. If it can't fit a compact crank and a 40 cassette, it's not a bike worth buying. And to me, that's ridiculous. You know, it's just like but here's the thing is the click. You know, he's after the click, and what the click is this is a specialized whatever review. So people click it because it says that. Just my one of my more recent videos where I talk about my bike, my Defy, it has over 1,000 views now, and it has that many views because I titled it with the giant advanced Defy in the title. So people are clicking it, they're finding it through Google searches, whatever. And so that's what Durian Rider's doing, is he's just making the title, you know, I'm going to review this new bike or whatever bike, but he doesn't review the bike. He just reviews whether or not he can put a compact crank and a mountain bike cassette on it. And if he can't, then he says it's a piece of shit bike. So really his only bike should be mountain bikes. Can you put drop bars on a mountain bike? If not, then it's not a good mountain bike. It's kind of pathetic, but
yeah, I mean, that's where he has gone over the last year or whatever. I mean, it's gotten pretty crazy. Yeah, I can't watch that guy no more, man. I mean,
and I don't blame him. I still watch.
You made it this far. I mean, you know. But, what is it now? Like Vegan Gains. You know that guy, the black Canadian guy?
Yeah.
I don't know what happened, but the two of them were like great friends or whatever. Or I don't even know if they met each other, but they were like really cool online. And then like one day I'm like, let me just check out Durian or Vegan Gains, I can't remember. And they had like this whole feud going on. I was like, man, I missed this shit, you know? And it was like really just bad between both of them. Vegan Gains, I've never really seen him say anything negative about other people, at least not on Durian's level.
Yeah. I've seen some pretty crazy stuff come from him, but again, it's the controversial stuff. I think what he learned from Durian was really early on in his career to be controversial, where Durian kind of had the evolution of starting off not being controversial. When people went to Durian Rider and said, how do I get, you know, subs or how do I get views? Durian said, go straight to being controversial. And so people didn't go through that evolution of being, you know, truthful and giving their honest opinion of things. They just went straight to making, you know, crazy, outlandish accusation videos or response videos or whatever that were titled with something controversial, or that the picture that you used as your thumbnail was somehow clickbaity, and that's how you get the views. And, you know, it's sad that that's kind of the direction that he leads people down, and people do get big. They do make money. And eventually Durian probably rubs them wrong, and then they get in these feuds, you know, just like with Freely, just like with Vegan Gains and all these other people that, you know, he's blowing up. It just is, if you in any way go against what Durian Rider is saying, Durian just cuts you off, and he's done with you, and you're going to go up on his blast list, and he's going to try to tear you down.
Yeah.
But
and I don't know how many subs Durian has. I bet it's under 200,000. He's been stuck under 200,000 for like a long time now, like maybe 6-8 months. It's really strange.
Yeah,
like his channel just can't grow. Like I think it hit 200 and went right back under. It's like his channel just can't grow. I mean, maybe I can look at that real quick.
Yeah,
but it's just something I've noticed. Like he's just not able to pass 200. Yeah, he's at 195 right now.
Yeah.
And what is Freely at? Freely was like 700 something last time I checked. 731. Yeah. Damn, so Durian couldn't gain any subs while he dated Freely? Shit. He just fucked it all up.
Yeah.
Like your lady has 700 some subs.
Yeah.
1,000 subs, and you couldn't get up to like 500,000 Durian? Come on.
He's got some lacking there. If you take into account the fact that a lot of guys watch videos just to see a body, they're probably not watching to see his body. Where with Freely, you know, you get a little more eye candy if you're a guy, and the predominant users of YouTube are probably guys. So, you know, she does a lot of the sexy, you know, reveal, you know, walk around as scantily clad as you can. But that's what Durian's doing now. He got that 24-year younger girl.
Yeah, he got that young girl. Yeah.
Freely wannabe, and he's getting her fit and trained like he did with Freely, but it's not because he wants to help her, it's because he wants to help himself. If he can bring eye candy back to the channel and do all the stuff he used to do with Freely, where there'd be like the walking through the store and he's showing her in the tight pants, you know, without a Freely character there, he can't do that. So he needed something. And if he'd gone with somebody his own age, a little saggy in the bottom, you know, a little flatter up front, a little more, you know, face acne or whatever, it wouldn't have been nearly as big a draw, right? So he's got to go and start raiding the chicken coop and getting the youngest, hottest chick he can. And that's his model for success. But it's sad, but at the same time, I don't really care. You've said it multiple times, like the moto vloggers, like it would be nice if cyclists could somehow get to the level that the moto vloggers got to. There's a guy here locally that his name is the Muscle Biker. I don't know if you've ever seen his channel, but he's a moto vlogger. He lives 10 minutes, 15 minutes up the road from me, but he just recently crossed 100,000 subs. When I started following him, maybe a year ago, he was at 2,000 subs. So in a year's time, you know, he's gone up 98,000 subs, and his videos, they're not at the level of like a Walterific or Do It With Dan or anything like that. He's really, really simplistic, but just that community is fairly tight knit and fairly positive with each other. And so I think that they feed off each other really, really well. Whether or not cyclists will ever get to that level, I don't know. I think most cyclists probably don't watch YouTube because they're interested in other things, but maybe they do. I don't know. Obviously, if they're watching Durian stuff, they're there and they might, you know, be available to watch our stuff. But I don't know how you crack that nut, or if you even really want to crack that nut, because you start getting again to that point. Do you quit your day job to just ride a bike and videotape yourself driving through New York traffic so that you catch more crazy stuff, so that you can put it up on YouTube every third day, so that you continue to grow your channel? You know, it's what it is. I don't know, but
yeah, like when I first started, it wasn't even about growing my channel. It was literally, I just wanted to show people how it was to be a cyclist in New York City.
Yeah,
that was it. Like I didn't understand the concept of YouTube in terms of growing the channel and all that. So like in terms of meeting people and developing a community, like none of that stuff ever struck my mind. It was just strictly upload videos, show people how to get to certain places. Like some people would watch my Orchard Beach videos or my City Island videos and have no clue where these places were, and they live in New York City.
Right.
So just to show people, oh, hey, I live here, and this is how you get to there. Some people like that. They really did enjoy those videos.
Yeah.
So that was my initial thought, and then obviously things change, and you start meeting people, and then you start getting more people in your videos, and start going to different places, you know. So it's fine the way it's evolved over time.
Cool. Well, looks like we've lost just about everybody that's watching live with us. But
yeah, it's time to wrap it up.
Yeah, I know it's getting late. I just looked at the clock and it's already 10 o'clock. I'm like, holy crap, it's already been 3 freaking hours. But time seems to fly when you're talking with people you like. But
yeah, for sure.
All right, man. Well, I will say goodnight to you and all the people who are still with us and viewing.
Yep.
And, hopefully Chicago can hang out. Hang out with us longer.
Yeah.
Do this
all right,
again.
man, well, take it easy.
Yeah, man. You too.
We'll do it again soon. And have a good night, man.
All right. Yeah. You too. Take care, man.